with Sam Cedar.
The destiny of America is always safer in the hands of the people than in the conference rooms of any elite.
Sam Cedar.
They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The Majority Report with Sam Cedar.
If I get the feeling you've been cheated.
It is Tuesday, August 11th, 2020. My name is Sam Cedar. This is the five-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps and steps and steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, the Democratic House closes shop as Mitch McConnell doesn't have enough Republican votes to pass any type of relief bill. Meanwhile, new evidence to suggest we've undercounted the number of COVID deaths in this country. And Andrew Cuomo quashes an independent investigation into his decision to send COVID to nursing homes. Testing falls apart in Texas, and health officials are quitting across the country. New report shows millennials again taking the brunt of the economic pain. Joe Biden's VP pick to be announced any minute or hour from now. Meanwhile, Kodak shares plunge as Democratic lawmakers call for scrutiny of its sweetheart Trump administration loan. And corporatist Richie Neal throws the dirty kitchen sink at Alex Morse in an important primary race in Massachusetts' 1st congressional district. Lastly, Trump's EPA is lifting an Obama-era methane control in a boon or boom for climate change. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Is it boon or boom? It's a boon, isn't it?
Yes, I think it's boon.
I can say boon. You know
Like,
what?
is it boondoggle?
I think in the... Oh, no.
Yeah, it's boon.
Yeah.
What happened? Oh, Brendan. Oh, you
Nothing.
were going to say no, it wasn't. And then you just found out.
Oh, dear.
No, a boon is a good thing.
And it's a boon. Yes. Boon. That's what I'm saying. It's a boon.
Well, Sam
for
was saying,
climate change.
Matt was saying boondoggle.
Well, boondoggle is the
But
opposite
you
of a boon.
you doggle the
your
boon. Yeah.
Yes. Gotcha.
I should say, and you know, I should have done this yesterday, but I was not aware of it. So on Friday night, I was mocking Dinesh D'Souza on Chris Hayes' program because we all remember when Donald Trump said Yosemites instead of Yosemite because he was reading a teleprompter and he just, or he was just shouting out, I don't know, maybe his, his son-in-law's cousins or something. He also went on to say Thailand instead of Thailand. Maybe he had never seen the word in print. No, these mistakes happen, of course. I certainly make mispronunciations all the time. But I did a bit on Hayes's about how Dinesh D'Souza was insisting that only troglodytes say Thailand, that people who are really intimate with the country say Thailand, which is not true by any stretch of the imagination. D'Souza himself had used the word Thailand in situations, and
That was before he went.
that was before he went. I went to Thailand to the extent that Thailand is more of like an English word anyways. It's or pronunciation. I mean, but nobody says Thailand. Nobody does. Doesn't happen. And so we did a little bit about that, about how embarrassing it was. Not so much that Trump made the mistake. That's fun to laugh at, but that that there's such cultists out there that D'Souza will actually pretend like that's the right way to say it. And apparently in that segment, I said Ku Klux Klan instead of Ku Klux Klan.
Oof.
But
a lot of people say it that way too, though. I heard
it's true, but it's also it is Ku Klux Klan, but I said Ku Klux Klan. I think I didn't review the tape, but somebody accused me of doing it, and it would be perfectly consistent with my ability to enunciate certain things. But here's the difference: not only is there no one out there claiming that I didn't say Ku Klux Klan or that it's really Ku Klux Klan is the right way to say it, but I am myself acknowledging it. So I just want that for the record. I don't think there was anybody who is hearing my voice now or watching me was even aware of anything of what I was talking about, but I felt compelled to do it anyways.
Oh, man. So we're going to have to send back these mock-ups that Vance did for your new MSNBC show.
Oh my God. That was
you haven't
hilarious.
seen that? That's so funny.
No, I will make this absolutely clear. There is no chance of me doing a show on MSNBC. No chance. I mean, maybe 5-10 years down the road or something. I don't know, but I have no desire. About 5-10 years down the road, God help me. But I'm saying there is no chance of me doing a show for MSNBC. I would be shocked. There's been absolutely no conversations to that effect or any of it. It was just that I think what was happening at MSNBC was like Ali Velshi is the only person who fills in for all the shows. And after it's been 10 years since I filled in for Obelman, and I think they finally were like, oh, whatever, just let Sam do it one night. All right, let's get to this question. And since we're all on pins and needles about the vice presidential pick of Joe Biden. And I do think, I don't think it's going to be Elizabeth Warren. I think that would be the only pick that would be of any material benefit to progressives, at least. And I would argue actually even to the left of progressives, just simply because resources would flow into, if not Bernie people, but yes, certainly some Bernie people and Bernie adjacent people. And that's always good. Any flow of resources into even the general proximity of folks whose politics are at least somewhat aligned with yours is a good thing. That will not be the case with the Kamala Harrises or the Susan Rices or I have no idea what would happen. Like, does Bass have some type of like network of people? I don't think so. But we shall see. And with that said, though, Donald Trump had his favorite own reporter, that is from One America Network News. And I can't remember her name. What was it? Chanel Rion?
Ryan.
Oh, Ryan. Okay. and Trump, I wonder if there's coordination. I would be shocked if there isn't. But here is Trump. Here's that own reporter asking a very insightful question.
On OAN.
Seal on coronavirus, Mr. President.
OAN, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, thank you for coming back to finish the briefing.
Thank you very much.
After the scuffle. So I have an opinion question for you.
Okay.
Joe Biden is set to announce his running mate at any time now. We expect him to announce her. Many of your supporters feel that the reason that Obama's former NSA, Susan Rice, is at the top of Biden's list is that she can best cover up a lot of the Obamagate surveillance crimes that have taken place during your campaign. What are your thoughts? What is your opinion? Do you subscribe to that line of thought? How do you feel about it?
Pause it.
Well,
I just want to make it clear what the question was. That is, Susan Rice, of course, would be, who is the former NSA under Obama, would be in the perfect person to cover up the Obamagate surveillance of you. And now this is what is known as like a setup question. It's going to give Trump. But I mean, just think about the premise. You're going to bring in someone into the that Biden's going to bring in someone into the administration. I mean, just want you to think about the premise within its own logic, within its own sort of like, within their world. We're going to bring in the person. We're going to bring in the person who is responsible for the spying or whatever it is that they think happened under the Obama administration. We're going to bring that person in to do the cover up, and we're going to put them in the second most public position we can within the White House, right? We'll make them vice president, as opposed to sort of saying like, well, you'd be NSA head again. We're going to make them vice president so that they can do their cover up basically in front of the American public. That's the theory that she is asking Donald Trump to comment on. And here is his response.
Well, look, the Obama campaign spied on our campaign. And
it was not
caught,
a campaign.
Right? And now let's see what
Barack
happens
Obama
to them.
Was not running for
but
president.
They have been caught. They've been caught red-handed. It's probably treason. It's a horrible thing they did. It probably never happened before. At least nobody got caught
Nixon,
doing it. But they used the intelligence agencies of our country to spy on my campaign, and they have been caught. And there are a lot of people involved. I don't want to say how much she's involved. Frankly, if he chooses her, that's fine, but that's a potential liability. We'll see. But President Obama knew about it. Joe Biden knew about it. Comey knew about it.
Pause it for 1 second.
Brennan, Clapper.
Pause it.
Wow.
Of course they all knew about it. Of course they all knew about it. It was reported almost contemporaneously that Mitch McConnell said, if you go public and tell people that Russia is involved in our election and coming in on the behest of the Trump campaign, then I will claim that it's all about politics. And so they didn't say anything. Of course they knew about it.
It's a very weird laugh he gives after Comey. He rarely laughs.
Of course. Comey, who was, I mean, it is the question, was the head of the FBI aware of the investigation? Yes, he was. In fact, if you're going to investigate someone or some campaign like that, you really should bring in the top brass. It really should be compelling information that drives it. Continue.
Whole group, they all knew about it. Lisa Page and her lover Strzok, they all knew about it. And we have it documented. We have it in texts. We have it in all sorts of forms. They knew about it. It was a terrible thing. Should have never happened and should never be allowed to happen again to a president. This should never happen again. This was a setup like we've never seen. I think it's the political crime of the century. And they've been caught. So let's see what happens to them all. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that was, speaking of setup, I mean, the whole question was a setup. But now I don't know why Donald Trump would be aware of the investigation. That is, what they found at this point, right? I mean, it's Durham, the Connecticut U.S. attorney is reporting to Bill Barr. Maybe he's getting briefed on the investigation as it goes. Is there any way this is going to come out in October, Bill?
Here's a picture that Chanel posted to her own Instagram in March. So
there you go.
Interesting.
Yep. This is how I touch reporters.
Love the press.
This is the press. It's talk about press. Yeah. So there it is. I hope that Joe Biden does not pick Susan Rice, if only so that she can have a less prominent position as she covers up the Obamagate scandal. But for other reasons too, I would prefer no Susan Rice. But we shall see, because you know what? The Biden campaign not listening to me. Haven't reached out. Haven't done any of that stuff. So it's been a little bit sad. Hey, folks, you know that there's no normal here, right? I mean, we have our new normal is that there's no normal. However, there may be never been a better time to learn something new because we have no idea what the new normal ultimately is going to be. And with thousands of options available, finding the best way to learn can be challenging. My recommendation, it's an app called Blinkist. Blinkist is unique and powerful. You can use it on your phone. You can use it on your pad or your whatever you call that. Your tablet. You can use it on your computer. It takes the key insights from over 3,000 nonfiction books in 27 different categories and condenses them down into blinks, which you can read or listen to in just 15 minutes. Blinkist offers its members exclusive original podcasts from top authors and creative thinkers. You can also dive deeper into nonfiction audiobooks, full length, at a special discounted price. So over 14 million use Blinkist, and they do it to deepen their knowledge in topics spanning from self-improvement, management, happiness, and more. And for me, I've gone over this multiple times with you guys, but for me, I do it a little bit to deepen my knowledge in certain topics like self-improvement, although, it's pretty tough to improve from my vantage point. But there are things that I have dug into. I highly tout the 4-hour work week. I learned a lot of like sort of 80-20 stuff from that, but I'm not going to read the whole book. And so I listen to it on Blinkist. You could read it on Blinkist too. I mostly listen, but sometimes I read. And you can check out a book like, let's say you're like, I should really know what Michelle Obama wrote, but I don't feel like reading the whole book. Well, congratulations, because Becoming by Michelle Obama is on that is on Blinkist, or Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. Then maybe you might want to dig into Rick Wilson's Everything Trump Touches Dies. I was just reading Ross Doth out on all, what it says about all these Republican strategists who've become never Trumpers. And this is a great way of getting sort of like primary source understanding from these sort of tangential things that other people are commenting on. You can use this Blinkist in a myriad of ways. And right now, Blinkist has a special offer for just our audience. You go to Blinkist.com/majority report. You get a free 7-day trial. And then if you like it, which I know you will, 25% off a Blinkist premium membership and up to 65% off audiobooks, yours to keep forever, Matt Leck. That's Blinkist, spelled Blinkist, Blinkist.com/majority report to get 25% off a premium membership and a 7-day free trial. Blinkist.com/majority report. And lastly, ExpressVPN. There's a VPN, which obviously protects your privacy and your security online, but you can also use ExpressVPN to unlock movies and shows that are only available in other countries. Yeah, right? You've seen all the American ones. So a bunch of us are stuck at home. It's only a matter of time before you run out of all your binge watch list stuff and Netflix or wherever it is. But you could use ExpressVPN to binge shows like Doctor Who on UK Netflix. All you can do is fire up the ExpressVPN app, change your location to the UK, refresh Netflix, and that's it. Boom. ExpressVPN hides your IP address and lets you control where you want sites to think you're located. You can choose from almost 100 different countries. So just think about all the Netflix libraries you can go through. But it's not just Netflix, of course. ExpressVPN works with any streaming service. ExpressVPN is ridiculously fast, so you can easily stream in HD. It's compatible with all your favorite devices. If you visit expressvpn.com/majority, you can get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. It's an extra 3 months. Support the show, watch what you want, and protect yourself with ExpressVPN at expressvpn.com/majority. majority. All right. And as always, all the links to our ads are in the podcast description and the YouTube description. Let's start off with this. Where we are now, August 11th, we are now almost 2 weeks out from when all people ceased to get their extra $600 per week in unemployment benefits. And so we're basically headed into the last pay period where I think it's possible for anybody to have, or I should say the first pay period where people will not be getting that. Donald Trump announced Saturday at Bedminster, or Friday he announced it. I think Saturday he supposedly signed these executive orders. We will go through those, but I mentioned them yesterday. Needless to say, they are horribly insufficient. And in fact, in some instances, may be completely a mirage. We will talk about that. But what's interesting is what's happening on Capitol Hill right now. Yesterday, the Democrats in the House basically said they're not coming back for any votes until mid-September. They're on recess. They had passed the HEROES Act. I don't know. What was that, like 6 weeks ago? The HEROES Act was their COVID relief bill. Some things in it were horrible. Some things were crucial. And they have decided to leave. There is some question as to whether Nancy Pelosi would come back if there was another bill passed by the Senate. But the Senate cannot pass a bill right now because Mitch McConnell, he's good at stopping stuff, not so great at cobbling together anything. You've got Ron Johnson out in Wisconsin saying, I'm glad. I hope we don't pass anything. He's one of the stupidest senators we have, incidentally. He said on a Friday interview with Breitbart News tonight, I think I just proved my that statement, that he hopes negotiations stay broken down between the Trump administration and House Democratic leaders on a new pandemic relief package, given the trillions Democratic leader proposed in new spending. From my standpoint, the breakdown in the talks is very good news. It's very good news for future generations. I hope the talks remain broken down. Future generations are going to applaud the fact that we allowed millions of people to go hungry, millions of people to be evicted, millions of people to lose their health insurance, millions of cities and towns to cut services, to cut education, make it harder for kids to go back to school. Future generations are going to really appreciate this, is what Ron Johnson believes. And so here's Mitch McConnell complaining that what he's really saying is, I can't get anything passed in the Senate. He needs Democratic votes now.
Republicans wanted to agree on the things we could agree to. Democrats said, our way or the highway. Republicans wanted to send cash now, right now, for schools, testing, and unemployment benefits, and argue over state bailouts later. Democrats said nobody gets a penny unless Texas and Florida bail out New Jersey. That's their position. Nobody gets a penny unless Texas and Florida bail out New Jersey. So this is where we are. The previous UI benefits expired. The PPP closed its doors. Over the weekend, President Trump took steps to soften the blow of the Democrats' hostage tactics on American families who need help most. His decisions will help spare some Americans some of the pain from the Democrats' hostage taking. From the beginning, from the very beginning, Mr. President, our side has tried everything possible to find common ground and deliver more help. But the Democrats have said no. At least the American people know the score. So. At least they know the score.
Okay, so Mitch McConnell's out there. There's an argument, I guess, that if Nancy Pelosi was still in Washington, she could rebut that. But I also, we're living in an era where I just don't think that anybody, the mainstream media, is not buying that. 15 years ago, they would have lapped that up, and they would have said Democrats are being obstructionist. Now, there's still, the fact is, Democrats have passed a bill. Like, we've gone over the HEROES Act many times before. There's a lot of really bad stuff in there, like extending COBRA. But there's also a lot of important stuff, like literally hundreds of billions for cities and states, among other things. It's a $3 trillion bill. Mitch McConnell cannot pass anything in the Senate. And unless Donald Trump and the Trump administration says you got to pass this. And there's been an interesting sort of dynamic that's been going on here. You remember Mark Meadows. He is the Freedom Caucus former congressman. Sometimes people get him confused with who is the Jim Jordan, the wrestling coach who refused to do anything about the multiple students who came up to him and said, "We're being molested by the trainer." I guess because, they were having a good season. I don't know. But sometimes I get those two confused. Mark Meadows, Jim Jordan. Maybe both their names are alliterative, and they're both Freedom Caucus guys. So Mark Meadows is not the former wrestling coach who did nothing about the sexual predator working amongst the students. However, he's also still not a terribly good person who has this attitude of, I would rather see people suffer than expend tax dollars to help them, I guess is basically what it comes down to. So Pelosi and Meadows have gone back and forth. Like literally in these meetings, they've been gotten in fight over stuff about you can't bring a phone in here and that type of stuff. Meadows, apparently, he's the chief of staff for Trump. Apparently, he is showing up at these meetings to babysit Steve Mnuchin. It's not just because Mnuchin is not very bright, because I don't know that Meadows is particularly bright either. But a big part about it is that Mnuchin just wants to make a deal. He doesn't care at the end of the day about inflicting that much pain on the little people if it helps Donald Trump. And so Mnuchin is the only one that they can deal with. But Meadows has been there to essentially be a roadblock. Well, Politico is reporting this morning that Meadows is gone from the White House for a week. Is that what it said, Brendan?
Yep, that's exactly it.
And there is no explanation. We don't know if it's because he got COVID. We don't know if it's because Mnuchin came back and said to Trump, like, I can't make a deal with him in the room and we're going to get screwed. No deal soon. Who's MM? Oh, Mark Meadows. Spoke with a couple of senior administration.
I think that's Morning Money.
Oh, Morning Money. Okay. So Morning Money spoke with a couple of senior administration officials who both said that they see little chance of a fiscal stimulus deal coming anytime soon. There are not likely to be any serious talks this week, partly because the White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, is out for the week, but mostly because the administration feels confident they have the upper hand politically following Donald Trump's executive actions. Now, that could be the case, or it could also be the case that they've got Meadows out of the way so they can actually make a deal with Pelosi. Because I don't know, if Donald Trump was so confident about where he was on this, he wouldn't be talking about how Pelosi and Schumer were contacting him over the weekend when they weren't. So who knows? But Donald Trump's, maybe Donald Trump thinks that from a political standpoint, there's no pressure. But the reality is that none of this money that they're talking about in his executive orders are going to reach people. Reminder, he's delaying. He has the ability in the declaration of a federal emergency like coronavirus to tell the Treasury to postpone collecting taxes, right? I mean, our tax deadline was not April 15th this year. It was July, whatever it was, 15th. So they can say to the Treasury, do not collect these payroll taxes. But as I explained yesterday, if I'm an employer and I'm supposed to withhold 6.2% of Brendan's paycheck, I'm going to have to pay that. I'm going to have to pull that out of his paycheck in 6 months. And so I'm going to be pulling out, 36, 42% of his paycheck in December. And Brendan's not going to like that. And so I may just say to Brendan, look, here's the deal. I'm going to put that money. You're not getting that money. I'm putting it in escrow because you're going to owe it later. And if you don't like it, take a walk. But that's what I'm doing. It's conceivable I'll just have the option. But even if I didn't have the option, I might still do it. Try and get away with it for a while. And then if Brendan says, hey, Sam, what are you doing? And I'll be like, Brendan, look, let's be honest. I know you. Well, this doesn't work so well with Brendan. But you're not going to save that money to pay it later. You're going to go and spend it on all your, fancy clothes and, parties. And so many people will not even see that deferral of taxes to the extent that it's worth anything anyways. What good? It's basically it's a no-cost loan, but not enough money that you can go out and buy something that's going to accrue in value. No, it's just a low-cost loan so you can go out and maybe help you with your rent a little bit, but we're not talking about much money here at all. And then they have sort of extended the federal unemployment aid to $400, except for only $300 of that is coming from Washington. The other 100 supposedly coming from the state. States have no mechanism in which to issue stuff like that. They have no extra money. So many of the states won't issue that extra money. And the $300 is supposed to be siphoned out of the DHS account. And it's unclear that he has the legal right to do that. It's disaster relief money. And then there is an option for some agencies to halt some evictions. And if I had to guess, I would say unlikely that's happening. And then the only thing that's even worth anything, I think, is that student loan payments are deferred until December 31st. But the debt is not canceled forever. And I don't know how the interest accrues over that time. But this is not going to minimize the pressure, if that's what they're thinking. Because people are going to be starting to hurt soon. Now, Mnuchin said the other day that they'd be able to turn around this unemployment stuff, by Monday. Now he's singing a slightly different tune. Well, it's going to take a little while. This is going to be a real problem for people. And I think Trump is going to feel the pressure. We'll see. We shall see. All right. Let's, what? Do we have I'll take some IMs. I just want to say that after watching yesterday's show, that U.S. Post Office also delivers mail around the world to U.S. military. Good point. You guys have to watch Ben Shapiro's review of the new Cardi B music video. Ben is afraid of the P word. Yes, my understanding. Yeah, we will get to Ben Shapiro in just a moment, and we'll take some phone calls. The call lines are open. I'm going to open up the IMs. We'll do this for like 10 minutes in the freebie show. Also wanted to just let me just do this too, briefly. The CDC has reported that there are 200,000 excess deaths this year relative to any other year so far. The official count of deaths from COVID is 160, 165. at this point. 165,000. We've talked about this in the past. Epidemiologists look at year-over-year figures to see if there's excess deaths, and the CDC has determined that there is. Now, these deaths could come from one of two things, or most likely come from one of two things. They come from COVID, or they come from people holding off on medical procedures that would otherwise catch other diseases because of COVID. The other thing to consider is that because there has been social distancing and because people were traveling less over the course of particularly March, April, May, getting in fewer car crashes and whatnot, that we also have probably a reduced amount of death as a function of people reacting not to getting COVID, but afraid of getting COVID. So it's very likely that there have been more or less about 30,000 people who have died of COVID that we have not recorded as having died of COVID. And we are now looking at a situation where people are starting to head back to schools. There was out of Georgia that not only did that school that had the photos end up having a bunch of cases, apparently there's a bunch of cases throughout their entire school system, and they've only been back for, I don't know, a week or two. The Texas is going to be a massive disaster it's already pretty bad, but it's going to get worse. They have administered about almost half as many tests in the last week that ended than they did about 2.5 weeks ago. And at the same time, the percentage of tests yielding positive results has climbed by up to 20% on average in the week ending August 8th. So in other words, there are fewer people getting tested, but more of them are testing positive. And there is no explanation for that other than people have just given up on the testing because maybe they're not getting it back early enough, or they're just, or the tests are not available. But more people, the positivity rate is going up. That is an indication that maybe things are surging a bit. Lastly, let me touch on this too. So everybody remembers the story of Andrew Cuomo sending COVID patients back to nursing homes to get care because there was a shortage of hospital beds early in the pandemic. Part of the reason why there was a shortage of hospital beds is that something like 10 to 20% of hospitals, public hospitals, were shut under Andrew Cuomo under the past 5-10 years in New York State. He defunded a bunch of these things, generally in lower income areas, but around the state. Here is Andrew Cuomo on a phone call. And just basically, I will tell you what it is. It's a little bit confusing because it's one of those pressers and you hear a lot of beeps coming on. The New York State Health Commissioner, Howard Zucker, just recently declined to testify at a state legislative hearing on nursing home policy that took place yesterday in New York State. Cuomo does not want this investigated because his decision led to thousands of deaths. And he's pulling what people might remember a Moreland Commission on this. The Moreland Commission was set up to investigate corruption in Albany. That's the state capital of New York. Cuomo ended up shutting it down when they started to investigate him. Here is Andrew Cuomo on that call arguing two things. One, nobody can agree on who an independent expert is, so we should not have an independent expert look at this. However, when his State Department looked into it, the State Department of Health looked into it, why, what was the cause of the over 6,000 nursing home deaths in New York. They found that Cuomo did nothing wrong, of course, and said that that report had been reviewed by what he called credible industry experts. Coincidentally, those healthcare industry leaders and experts who oversaw it have close ties with Cuomo's administration and have benefited from its policies and contracts. That's according to the Times Union. Play this clip.
Look at the basic facts on where New York is versus other states, right? You look at where New York is as a percentage of nursing home deaths, it's all the way at the bottom of the list of states. So I don't think anyone, what's political, what's not political, everyone can make their own decisions.
But why not have a panel of experts who ostensibly would not be political at all, would be trusted by Democrats, Republicans, independents alike, to investigate what exactly happened in nursing homes?
Yeah, there is no such thing as a person who is trusted by all Democrats and Republicans. That person doesn't exist. The Department of Health, those are just numbers. Their report are numbers. You can see what you want in the numbers, but the numbers are the numbers. You can politically spin numbers, but those numbers are numbers. And, as you know, the Department of Health review was then reviewed by credible industry experts, right? So to your point about why don't you get independent experts to review the numbers, we did. Well, people don't think they're independent experts. Yeah, I know, because nobody's ever going to agree on who an independent expert is. Everybody has their own expert, right? Everybody has their own opinion.
I don't. We can pause it. We don't need to hear any more of this. This is the classic play, right? Like, there are no facts. Everybody has their own facts. There's no such thing as an independent. Well, you know what? It's not a question of someone being independent from everybody. It's being independent from him. I think everybody can agree on somebody who is independent of Andrew Cuomo. But the credible experts, unnamed, just buddies of his, who have looked at the reports from his Department of Health, say it's okay. So we should just accept that, because nobody can accept the idea that there's independent anything anyways.
Epistemological Cuomo over here.
There you go.
I'm glad they looked into it.
Exactly. Can we really know what time is? Can we really know what time it is? I don't think so. There's Andrew Cuomo. We can never really know if he screwed up.
Honestly, the numbers are the numbers. That when he gets into the bit about numbers, it's very philosophical. I start thinking about math differently.
Yes, it's brilliant. Let's go to the phones. Calling from a 308 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from? 308. 308. I hear somebody. All right, let's go to calling from a 409 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Sam, this is Mr. Toro from Texas.
Mr. Toro from Texas, welcome to the program. What's on your mind?
Hey, Sam, thanks. I've got a perspective on this. I wanted to get your opinion on it. A lot's been made of the leadership faults, and no doubt there's been a lot of faults collectively to go around, from governors to the president to the federal government. But I'll tell you one thing here in Texas, there's also an issue, Sam, with just collectively as a people, we have failed just on an individual level by our actions. And I don't hear that talked about as much. I think, obviously, I take that with the Clinton administration or Biden administration or Sanders administration or whatever, we would have a better response, no doubt. But there would still be some people, and I can tell you, I know them here in Texas, that would not be collectively coming together to beat this thing back. And so I haven't heard that perspective talked about, and wanted to hear what you had to say about that.
Well, I appreciate the phone call. I think, but the numbers would be less. right? Like, I mean, like this is the dynamic. When you have a federal, a complete vacuum of leadership on something, of course, there's more latitude for people to be stupid about it. And there's more to hang their hat on to be stupid about it. No doubt. But and look, I will be the first person to criticize the American public and people who are just being idiotic about this. But part of it is there is a total lack of leadership. Like, you know, like for instance, you know, how does, you know, I happen to think that the best thing that we could do in terms of schools in areas where you have an R naught that's below 1, like we do in New York, for instance, the best thing we can do is just do K through 5, maybe even K through 4. You don't have any of the other kids go to school. You use those facilities to spread out the K through 4, K through 5 kids. You send them every day. You keep them with 1 or 2 teachers, period, in one room all day, period. And I think that's the safest thing to do, frankly, in terms of minimizing the spread of COVID and keeping teachers safe. Like these pods that exist outside of school, like when you send the kids to hybrid, for instance, you're basically creating 2 different network streams because the kid needs to do something the next day. And I don't know if the idea is that the parents are going to go to work on the days that the kid's in school. It just, you got to get a babysitter or you don't get a babysitter. And then, you know, like it just becomes brutal for the kids. And inevitably what's going to happen is they're going to go and they're going to get into, you know, other like play groups or whatever it is. There's going to be a lot of that goes on. And then the teachers who coming in, they're being exposed not only to their classroom, but everybody that their classroom's being exposed to. And so I just don't think it's as safe, but at the same time, like, I don't know if I could blame, you know, the schools or the DOE in New York for not doing that because parents have no information and it just sounds intuitively scarier. It seems. And I may be wrong too, in terms of my theory about what could happen. But the point being that there is, within the absence of a trust agent, in this instance, a federal government that people can actually believe in, this is what you're going to get. So yes, and I would imagine in Texas, it's even worse because you've got your lieutenant governor and your governor out there saying that, like, you know, we don't have to worry about this. And old people, they can just take one on the chin for everybody else. So appreciate your call, Mr. Toro. Let's take one more phone call. Calling from a 210 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Good afternoon, Sam. This is John from San Antonio.
John from San Antonio, a special freebie first half appearance for John from San Antonio.
Yeah, today is primary day in Minnesota, and the squad member, Ilhan Omar, should cruise to victory just like AOC and Rashida Tlaib. Ilhan Omar is leading by 37 points in a Change Research poll conducted in early July. 74% of Minnesotans living in District 5 approve of her in that poll, while only 17 disapprove. I can make a strong case that this district is the most progressive district in the country. Before electing Omar, Keith Ellison held this seat for 6 terms. This seat covers the city of Minneapolis and constitutes constituents are 63% white and 17% black. Omar has a well-funded opponent, Antoine Melton Mew, who's raised $4.1 million, most of it from pro-Israel bundlers. But Omar's raised $4.2 million from individual donors. So last Tuesday night, before the results came, the New York Times was making highly questionable statements, like Rashida Tlaib is in for the fight of her political life and faces a tough primary fight. I mocked him on Twitter hours before the results came in. And after the day after, several left-wing journalists and activists said the same thing. So today, I'm seeing the exact same thing. Politico saying Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez survived her primary. Rashida Tlaib did too. And then Mike Kafka tweeted, "Yeah, she won by 35,000 votes. Both of them won by over 35,000 votes. AOC won by 57 points. Talib won by 33 points, and so it's just
by the skin of their teeth. By their skin of their teeth. By the skin of their teeth. Well, you know what? Listen, I got to be honest with you. I mean, look, anything's possible, right? $4 million, a lot of money to sink into that campaign. But I'm not convinced that, I mean, let me put it this way. Reporting after the fact that they survived their primary when they won by that big a margin is ridiculous. But if I thought that I was going to win by that type of margin and I was running this campaign, I might convince a reporter to, like, you should really write about all the money that my opponent has. Make it seem like this could be a tough race, because if I come out 35 points ahead, that makes me look even stronger, right? The expectations were, and I once again foiled the expectations. I don't know if things get that sophisticated, but yeah, there's a real desire to make it seem like these people are not popular in their districts. But I mean, the fact of the matter is they are, and they are probably will have, they have a district that frankly is a little bit probably more conscious of what their representatives are doing these days, just by nature of how politicized things have become and how much media there is. And there's a real fear, I think, amongst the establishment, broadly speaking, and I mean this in terms of like journalistic and in terms of political, that this movement that is taking place, where you start to see blue state, blue district representatives defeated by more progressive, more leftist challengers, I think it scares them. I think it scares them because because it's a loss of power for some of these people. I think it scares them because there are corporate interests out there who are like, we've got some problems. And then I think it scares, some of in the media, because it makes them feel like they're out of touch with what is happening politically, and they don't want to feel that way. Nobody does. So, John?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, because I just had a Kaika Hale won also on Saturday in the 2nd District of Hawaii, big improvement over Tulsi. Beth Dolio in the 10th District of Washington made it to the general election from last week, and today Lisa Ring is in a runoff. She's a good progressive, supports in the 1st District of Georgia, supports Medicare for all. Last time she was endorsed by Justice Democrats, and hopefully she'll join a good list of red state progressives who, even though they're down between 29 and 15 points, could make it either really close or who knows. I mean, this could be a blowout election. I mean, it really could be. And we could see a lot more House seats flipping than people realize.
Yeah, I think so.
Some of those may be progressives,
I can't wait to. We'll wait and see about that. But I feel like Brandon Straka's walk away program is just not going that well. John, let me ask you one more question. Who's going to be the vice president nominee?
Oh, I don't know.
Come on.
I hope it's bad.
Don't tell me who you hope it is. Who do you think it's going to be?
Probably Harris.
I agree.
Probably Harris. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for the call, John.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye. All right, folks. You got a special treat today on the free half. John from San Antonio doing a call in. That is a special treat. Great time for me to remind you that you can support this program by becoming a member at jointhemajority.report.com. And join the Majority Report. Not only do you support the free half of the show, you get extra content every day. Just about every day. Yeah, every day. More or less every day. Just for literally, I think it's like comes down to less than $2 a day. 38 cents, something like that. I don't know. So check that out. Join themajorityreport.com. Also, sign up for the AM Quickies. Just subscribe to it. It's free. 6-7 minutes in your mailbox, in your in your podcast server every day. And you can watch it on YouTube too, if you want, on our Majority Report Live YouTube channel. That's our second backup channel, secret channel, secret back channels, if you will. Also, don't forget justcoffee.coop, fair trade coffee, tea, or chocolate. Use the coupon code majority and get 10% off. You can check out our merch at shop.majorityreportradio.com. Brendan, what's the update on the posit material?
It's pretty much ready to go. Just your sign off, and we'll.
What, are you waiting for my sign off?
No,
Oh.
I think we can launch it whenever. I think they're ready to go.
Yeah, well, you have my sign off. Let's do it. All right, there we go. See, this is how we do things around here. That's how smooth things run. Meanwhile, Nomi.
Hi.
How are you?
Hot. It is so muggy outside.
You don't have your air conditioning on?
No, because I have to deal with the noise. If I start dripping.
Oh, right. Yeah.
We plebs here don't have that fancy air conditioning that the.
Well, there's ways of getting
have.
around that. I can tell you. You gotta blast it, and then you turn it off right before you go on.
That's how hot it is. I did that.
Nomi, what's on your show this week?
So this week we have Ken Klippenstein talking about the surveillance or the DHS investigation, those names that were listed. He did this piece in The Nation a few days ago.
Blockbuster piece.
Blockbuster. Yes. And I can tell you that one of the people who's in that piece is we're going to have him on as well as this little extra on Patreon if you guys want. This is somebody who fought ISIS, actually, strangely enough, a friend of mine. Very unknown person. He's not,
I know that. He was written up in that too. They had that great comment about the least they can do is not call Reds anarchists.
No, that was Brace. He's not a podcast host. This is a guy who's just like an activist and a writer and a thinker.
Guy. Okay.
And I just, strangely enough, knew him. And I read it and I was like, what the heck? So we're going to interview him later. But this week it's Ken Klippenstein and then Jonathan Hirschman, who's part of the Jaffe Tenants Association. They're doing great tenant organizing in Brooklyn. And so I've been getting a lot of messages from people saying, help us out. We need to understand what we can do, what we can legally do. Obviously, it's state by state. So it's an interesting interview. But the big piece of news that I have to announce is that next week is the DNC. And we're going to be doing special coverage every single day on our channel, The Nomi Key Show, at 3 p.m. From 3 to 4, covering the DNC, what's happening. It's very confusing because it's all going to be on Zoom, pretty much. So
So it's going to be a Zoom within a Zoom type of situation. Yes. We will talk about that too, because we may have you guys do some special coverage for us on the Majority Report too. Additional stuff. We'll see about that. But all right, that's very exciting. And folks, don't forget the Antifada. Jamie's got a bunch new content over there. You can check it out, patreon.com/the Antifada. Matt, what's happening tonight on TMBS on your standing desk? Look at that. Matt's got a standing desk now.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
And he's so smiley about it.
He's pretty excited. Look at him. He's blushing.
You need the treadmill desk, though. That's the real one.
That's the next step.
You need it in COVID times.
We can't hear you. You're muted. He's so... Why are you going to go all the way over there to turn that on?
It's on the soundboard.
Oh, all right. You got you may want to work on that.
The mute button, yeah.
And being able to get to your soundboard from your standing desk.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, tonight on TMBS, Dr. Drew Mikhael from Queen's University Belfast. He's a research fellow there. He's going to talk to us about the Beirut explosion and the civil sort of, I'd say more than unrest. The people are very, very angry there. He's going to clue us into what's going on there. And kind of a normal-ish show, I guess, normal format. Alicia Brooks will be joining David Griscom and I, and we'll have the Economic Minute and that sort of stuff again. And we'll have a post-game tonight, too, with some friends to celebrate. It's Michael's birthday, so we're going to do some sort of celebration type of thing over it. So there'll be some friends in the post-game. and we'll announce those later.
Yeah, somebody said wanted to know what we're going to do on Thursday. Thursday is his actual birthday, right? The 13th.
I think that's right. Yeah.
And 12th is tomorrow. Thursday is the 13th. So maybe Matt and Jamie and Matt will Matt squared and Jamie. We gotta something like that. We gotta come up with a little.
Yeah, we've been trying to do that on the show actually, and probably took too much airtime doing it. But
all right, folks, we're gonna take a quick break. Head into the fun half of the program. 646-257-3920. We already have 24 callers on the line, so. But you can IM via the app at majorityapp.com. See you in the fun half.
You are in for it.
All right, folks, 646-257-3920. See you in the fun half.
Are you ready?
Who sent us this?
Alpha males are back, boy is back, and the alpha males are back.
Just as delicious as you could imagine.
The alpha males are back, boy is back, and the alpha males are back.
Just wanna degrade the white man.
Alpha males are back.
I take all of it in my throat.
Alpha males are back.
Almost says what?
The alpha males are back.
You are a madman.
And the alpha males are back.
I am a total cunt.
Can we bring back DJ Dannerky's song, please?
Yeah, or a couple of them. Just put them in rotation.
DJ Dannerky.
Well, the problem with those is they're like 45 seconds long, so I don't know if they're enough of a break for people.
That's fucking nonsense.
Hey, folks, reminder. I do not have Parkinson's.
And the alpha males are
psych. Fuck 'em. Almost says what?
What?
Almost says what?
A hell of a lot of bang. A hell of a lot of bang. A hell of a lot of bang. Hell of a lot of bang. Hell of a lot of bang.
All lives matter. Have you tried doing an impression on a college campus?
I think that there's no reason why reasonable people across the divide can't all agree with this. Psych.
And the alpha males are back. And the Africans are black. African, and the alpha males are back. And the Africans are black.
See Donald Trump out there doesn't a little party you think.
So listen.
Be taken over by jihadists. Keeping it 100. Can't knock the hustle. Come on. Fuck 'em. Things I do for the bigger game plan. By the way, it's my birthday. Happy birthday to me, Jew boy.
I have a thought experiment for you.
And the alpha males are back. Africans are black. Alpha males are back. Africans are black.
Come on. Come on. Come on. Someone needs to pay the price for blasphemy around here.
I am a total pussy.
We are back. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the fun half of the program. Thank you for joining us. This is the episode where Nomi, unfortunately, got the short straw, and we'll have to deal with the Ben Shapiro clip in a bit. You're muted. You're muted.
Should I do the laugh again?
No, well, people could see.
I'll do it in post.
Yeah, we'll put that down in post. There'll be a lot of. You can just drop in a lot of like something like this.
Sounds just like me.
We had a Pac-Man remix of the song. Actually, I heard too. There, it sounded like of the Danarchy song. Did you hear the Pac-Man drop in the Danarchy? Oh no, you didn't hear it.
No. Wait. What was it?
Brendan, a little sound bled over.
I was
Brendan.
I was queuing something up,
Okay, yeah.
and I forgot that it was my
voice
computer that's showing
That
sound.
thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you recognize that before I put it in the chat, Matt? Did you recognize that as Pac-Man?
Yeah, I recognized it just from his voice. Yeah.
Amazing.
Wow.
Half a
That's
second.
pretty good. All right, let's just start with this. This is one of those cute little things where Donald Trump I mean, we just live in an era where there are really two major, I guess, streams of reality. And one of them is Donald Trump and his 40%. And then it's the rest of the country. We don't necessarily agree on everything in that other 60% of the country, but we have some basic understandings of reality, like Thailand is pronounced Thailand, not Thailand. And that Donald Trump, in fact, had Barack Obama been president during a pandemic when 160,000 people had died, I think it's quite obvious Donald Trump would have called for his resignation. But Donald Trump just can't admit that.
If 160,000 people had died on President Obama's watch, do you think you would have called for his resignation?
No, I wouldn't have done that. I think it's been amazing what we've been able to do. If we didn't close up our country, we would have had 1.5 or 2 million people already dead. We've called it right. Now we don't have to close it. We understand the disease. Nobody understood it because nobody's ever seen anything like this. The closest thing is in 1917, they say, right? The great pandemic certainly was a terrible thing where they lost anywhere from 50 to 100 million people. Probably ended the Second World War. All the soldiers were sick. That was a terrible situation. This is highly contagious. This one is highly, highly contagious.
Wait. First off, of course he would have called for his resignation. Put up the tweets. Let's just get that out of the way before we start talking about the sort of some of the problematic history that's going on here. Now, again, of course, people make mistakes all the time. Here he is, Donald Trump, back in October 15th, 2014. President Obama has a personal visit to embrace all people in the U.S. who contract Ebola. I guess he was being a little facetious about that. But he talks about if this doctor who so recklessly flew into New York from West Africa has Ebola, then Obama should apologize to the American people and resign. So even if a doctor, a single person, was in America with Ebola, Obama should resign. Never mind 160,000 dying. But can we go back now and look at Donald Trump's recounting of the 1918 pandemic, which did not end World War I. Or two, for that matter. No, in fact, it did not. In fact, the pandemic may have caused World War II. Insofar as that Woodrow Wilson, well, we'll talk more about that in a second, but Woodrow Wilson reportedly had the Spanish flu, which incidentally started in, I think, Kansas. It just so happened that they recognized it first in Spain.
Was it on a base in Kansas too, or am I misremembering that?
I don't know. It's possible.
Yeah, that's what I remember. It was a lot of the soldiers were transacting it. Donald Trump's grandfather died of the Spanish flu, or great-grandfather.
Maybe they just kept saying 1917 to him when he was a kid. But Wilson had it. It had neurological implications because it would drive you a little bit crazy. Wilson went in with, I think it was a 14-point plan to make sure that the losers in World War I were not, what's the word, overly punished, were, so that there would not create resentments and maybe spur a second World War 10, 15, 20 years later. And however, he got none of those 14 points. Because, and many people suggest, because he was just incapable of doing anything because he was such a mess from having the flu. But nevertheless, let's go back to Donald Trump. I think maybe he must have been rattled by that question to get, the 1917 thing, for whatever reason, he's insistent upon. That's when it was. But the World War II thing, it just seems like he's maybe a little rattled.
understood it because nobody's ever seen anything like this. The closest thing is in 1917, they say, right? The great pandemic certainly was a terrible thing where they lost anywhere from 50 to 100 million people. Probably ended the Second World War. All the soldiers were sick. It was a terrible situation, and this is highly contagious. This one is highly, highly contagious. Now, if I would have listened to a lot of people, we would have kept it open. And by the way, we keep it open now, all the way. We keep it open. But we would have kept it open, and you could be up to 1.5 million or 2 million people right now. 1.5 to 2 million people. Our people have done a fantastic job. Our consultants and our doctors, you know, and...
Okay. Our consultants?
It's not impossible to imagine that we could get, I mean, we could have hundreds of thousands more people die from this in this country at this point. It's still not, I mean...
Other countries banned us. Our borders closed, but really it was protection to the rest of the world.
Indeed. There's Donald Trump. Let's just check in with Donald Trump one more time. They are having a lot of problem trying to find something stick to Joe Biden. And I mean, I think they're hoping, I don't know. I think they probably are hoping that that it's Susan Rice on some level because they want to talk about Benghazi or Obamagate. But I actually think that, you know, they might get more hay out of like a Kamala Harris on some level because they could actually take Kamala Harris's record as a prosecutor and try and suppress some votes in, you know, places like Wisconsin, like in Milwaukee and in Detroit, where they did against Clinton. I don't think they'll have as much success. And if Kanye's running there and Kanye could just be going and spend, I mean, if Kanye just camped out in Wisconsin for a week and just talked about how Kamala Harris, you know, as a prosecutor, I mean, I could see that suppressing some of the vote
Don't give them ideas.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think if they've already filed in Wisconsin with Kanye, so I think
they're going to weaponize her. But there's another aspect as well that we can have to take into serious consideration. You know, she's been a prominent. The Republican Party has this obsession with, you know, vilifying certain outspoken women, whether progressive or not, on Fox News all day long, and she's had a little bit of a runway on that. Unlike, you know, I don't think Susan Rice has had the same type. So there's going to be like real sexism in a way that there was with Hillary, and I think they're trying to disrupt, like sliver by sliver, you know, pulling back the Trump voters that may have gone for Obama a few years ago that could possibly move back to Joe Biden. And I think a lot of them are, like, frankly, they hated Hillary, and they were a little sexist, and they watch Fox News, and they might think that Joe Biden is a little bit saner, but Kamala Harris, I think, would be dangerous if that's their strategy.
I mean, I think that's going to be a problem with any woman that he nominates to some extent.
But there's not as much of a runway to build that up.
Well, Susan Rice, there is, isn't there?
Yeah, I don't know. Is it sexist though? Is it like I think I don't know. I think it's Benghazi, yes. Foreign policy, yes. But has she been like vilified the way that Kamala Harris has?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like the sexist tropes, sort of.
I think that's probably not, I mean, they're going to do that either way, but who knows? But as Trump is flailing around before the VP pick, and I don't think, frankly, that Trump's focusing in on the VP pick, my guess would be it's not going to have any salience, but like I say, one never knows. So he's been flailing around a little bit, and the latest is, you know, he's still trying to justify how Joe Biden, who's both sleepy and low energy and incoherent, is going to actually hurt God. Well, here's how he's going to do it.
Joe Biden has hurt God. He's against God. The vice president has said that he's a man of deep Catholic faith, and he's credited for helping him endure some immense personal tragedy. So, sir, what did you mean by that when you say that Joe Biden has hurt God or is against God?
Well, if you look at the manifesto that they've come up with, and if you look at their stance on religion and things having to do, very importantly, with aspects of religion and faith. I don't think a man of deep religion would be agreeing to the Bernie Sanders plan. You take a look at what they have in, and you can't put that into the realm of a religious group of people. I will say that. And I think it's one of the reasons why, if you look at polls, which I'm not a big believer in polls, I wouldn't, if I was, I guess I wouldn't be standing here right now. And by the way, our poll numbers are going up very rapidly, as you know, and Joe's are going down very rapidly. He'll have to come out of the basement, it looks like, pretty soon, because that, it's one of those things. But no, if you look at the manifesto, I call it the manifesto. A lot of people are calling it the manifesto. My opinion, it's further left than where Bernie was before. So normally he'd be left and you'd bring it somewhere a little bit toward the center. But some of the things
so
that they
online.
have down there, and I'm not only talking in terms of religion, I'm not talking even in terms of religion, but some of the things they have in the agreement made, and this was an agreement made by Bernie Sanders and Joe. It's a terrible thing. It would be a terrible thing for our country. It will destroy our country. We will go into a depression. We will put on regulation. We will double and triple taxes. It will be terrible for health care, just terrible. You'll have 180 million people lose their health care. It will be a terrible, terrible thing for our country. Okay.
The manifesto. Is he talking about the Democratic platform? I don't understand. He couldn't access the word platform, so he pretended that some people call it a manifesto.
He just wants to label us all as communists. It's red scare shit.
I disagree. I disagree with Nomi. The platform actually means a whole lot.
Nomi's wrong. It's a manifesto.
It's a piece of paper, okay?
Every single thing they're going to implement. And one of them is God is dead. That's going to be the manifesto. God is dead. And it's one of the things people are saying, that
My
God
only
is dead.
manifesto is the Bible.
I mean, none of this stuff resonates. I'm not a fan of Joe Biden, but the guy goes around and does this every 5 minutes. Right? Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. That used to be the one way you do an impression of that guy throughout the entire campaign, was him, telling everybody he's Catholic. I mean, that's they cannot, and that's why he had to sort of pivot, I feel like, because he doesn't, there's no,
they give him
throwing everything against the wall.
They're like, okay, Trump, these are the demos that we have to work on. These are the attacks we need to make. And so every time he gets up, he just has one line for the evangelicals to make sure that they're excited. One line to paint him as a communist. One line to say Sleepy Joe sleeping in a basement. It's he just has a word salad, and he needs to go in and hit all those points every single time he's up there. That's it. It's micro-targeting.
I don't believe in polls, but it looks like we're doing better in polls. So
yeah, and I'm going to use the Joe Biden talking point about Medicare for all to, hit on Biden and his non-endorsement of Medicare for all.
I mean, it's all right. Let's play one more clip, then we'll take a phone call or two, and This is Tucker Carlson. Now, understand what's going on in cities across the country. There is a decent amount of flight from cities that is taking place right now across the country. Suburbs, the value of real estate in suburbs is shooting up a little bit. People are getting out of the city because it's easier to live in a pandemic, not in a city. Brooklyn, as soon as I walk out of my apartment, got to put a mask on to go through the hallway, down the elevator, or down the stairs. Then out on the street, you got to wear a mask. You go into any place, you got to wear a mask. You're in the suburbs, you go out, you sit out on your at your barbecue, no mask. Walk outside, get the paper, let the dog take a poop, no mask. Whatever it is that you do, I don't know. With that said, Tucker Carlson has another explanation for what's happening with the cities, and it's demographics. And I wonder what he means by demographics. Do you think it's age? Do you think he's talking about age when he talks about demographics? Let's
leave, and many of them have already left. We're about to see one of the great demographic shifts in American history. Unless the insanity stops, and soon, our biggest cities will revert to what they were 50 years ago: broke, dirty, and dangerous. On the bright side, we'll have resolved the gentrification problem.
What?
So a lot of college professors will pat themselves in the back.
What? Solve the gentrification problem?
Well, he's saying we'll solve the gentrification problem because white, wealthy people are going to move out. And we're going to have this horrible shift in demographics, which I guess presumably means like we won't be as white as we were in the cities. And so we'll take care of the gentrification, but it's going to make our cities disgusting and dirty. Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, how can anybody really look at this guy and say he is anything other than an unreconstructed racist? He may have other political leanings, but it is about white people first.
What confuses me about this is if you look at the evolution of Tucker Carlson as being like the libertarian capitalist, whatever he was painting himself as, it's actually, this goes very much against those theories. Like the conservatives and the centrists who want to keep cities alive because they were major financial investments. Sure, there's losses, but there's these like glass towers everywhere. I mean, New York was wealthier than it's ever been in history. And he's basically screaming out to folks to move out of the cities, wealthy folks, you know, let go of your assets, your expensive properties, and move to the suburbs again. And it's just a bad financial model, I think, for a lot of these guys. I don't understand.
Well, he doesn't, but he doesn't care about any of that stuff.
I understand, but there is an agenda. Like
the agenda is, I'll tell you what Tucker's agenda is. There's a lot of racists out there. I'm one of them. And I also am finding this is giving me ratings success.
Yeah.
Because I'm willing to go on television and say, look, you don't need that many racists out there to become number one in cable television. If you are the best game in town and the only game in town, the only guy who's willing to say, you know, he's picking up basically Pat Buchanan's.
Yeah.
A lot of Pat Buchanan stuff.
Yep.
If you're willing to go out there and say on national television, we've got a problem. White people are being threatened. They're being driven out of the cities. And they're being driven out of the cities because Democrats are letting essentially black people and Hispanic people control our cities. And white people are moving out. White wealthy people are moving out. And we're going to see the cities turn into cesspools again because of it. I mean, this is what a racist says on television in 2020. That's basically it.
If you were to compare this to Bill O'Reilly, who was horrifying, this is like Bill O'Reilly on steroids. Plus, you've got the lead-in with Laura Ingraham, who is actually like a Nazi. They're putting up Sebastian Gorka on TV. Like this is a whole other Fox News.
Yep. There's not quite the charm. I mean, Bill O'Reilly's racism was at least sort of, you know, was a little bit Archie Bunkerish.
Yes.
You know, I thought they were going to go, I was going to go up to Sylvie's and they're going to go, well, hey, mofo, give me the iced tea. And they didn't do it. And, but Tucker Carlson's talking about a plan. It really is such an amazing coincidence that his head writer was posting up until the day he got fired because someone found that he was posting on a white supremacist site. And
I'm curious if he's actually like fired. Is he like off the books or is he still doing calls with Tucker? Because that's kind of their jam, right? Roger Stone was still advising Trump even though he was fired. Same thing with Bannon. Like they're just off the books. So
sometimes it's really hard to get new writers.
Yep.
Let's go to the phone. Calling from an 847 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hello? Did it work? Hello?
847?
Yeah. Hi, guys.
Who's this?
I'm Sona from Portland.
Sono?
Sona.
From Portland. Welcome to
S-O-N.
the program.
Yeah. Thank you. So I'm calling because we have a mayoral election here in Portland. The primary went okay. We have Tear Gas Teddy once again running, and we have Sarah Iannarone. She's this lady who seems to have like acceptably left policies that she wants to push. But my question is, we have this write-in campaign for Teresa Rayford, who's a local Black woman activist. She started this really good nonprofit, Don't Shoot PDX. And I guess my question is like, I'm worried that this write-in campaign, which is pretty popular among activists and protesters in the area, is going to like screw over Sarah Iannarone, like split the vote. What do write-in campaigns ever work?
I mean, it worked. Lisa Murkowski had one that worked, but she was, an incumbent, and so she had that going for her. She had, they knew her quite well in Alaska for a long time. So, but also her name not easy to spell.
Yeah.
They work, but my sense is that in a situation like this, I don't know, Nomi, you would probably have a better sense.
I mean, I think it just requires a tremendous amount of organizing. It's already hard enough as a challenger to organize, and it just requires a lot of money, a lot of field organizing. And I think right now, although we're better than we were like 4 months ago, you can do more field work now as a campaign. Like you can get on the ground, knock on doors with social distancing, whereas 4 months ago they didn't know how to do it. We didn't know what our limitations were. But it's expensive. It's expensive because you have to have the staff, and they have to be very well trained. And
she's not even officially running the campaign anymore. She said publicly, but she said that she will accept the position if she wins.
Oh, then my suggestion would be, do not waste your vote on that. I mean, if the candidate herself, is basically putting the campaign at arm's length,
right?
I mean, yes, I got news for you. If you vote for me, I'll serve too. But without somebody leading a campaign, there's no way someone can win a write-in candidacy. I mean, you just can't. She's acknowledging that.
Thinking was, she is, and that's what my thinking has been this whole time. But there's been a little bit of guilt. I've been trying to figure out if it's just an issue of, I don't know, like identity politics taking over because Sarah is white and Teresa Rayford is Black, and I didn't want to be that person and saying, we shouldn't elect this Black woman who's a public leader because she's just not going to win, guys. Please just be pragmatic. Like that doesn't. I don't think that sentiment goes over very well.
Well, it's not even that she's not going to win. She's not campaigning.
Right.
And
I know.
And there's no way. I mean, that makes it a pretty easy call in my estimation. If someone's not campaigning in an election, like how can you really? It's just a protest vote, and you're going to get Wheeler.
That's right.
We're going to get Wheeler.
And and you have to keep in mind, like,
at this point,
we're seeing right now, like in the last few weeks, women and women of color in particular, no resources, are doing extremely well on the ballot. Extremely well. I mean, we saw what happened in Tennessee. Yes. It's something that I don't think and part of that I think is because of, it depends on your state, like the mail-in levels, people are just voting at higher records. It just shows you when Democrats they're against open primaries, it's because they want incumbent protection. And so suddenly our voting systems are opening up a little bit in the primary process. And it just shows you how powerful the masses are in supporting working people and challengers and women of color when they're actually given the ability to do so.
Sean McElway has been saying this for 2 or 3 years, at least, as far as I know, particularly in districts and in elections where there are significant numbers of people with color. But he said he's been saying, women of color, as long as they're good candidates, have the best chance of winning. if you're not running your campaign, almost definitionally, you're a bad candidate. I mean, you may be a great everything else, but
Did I hear you say sorry?
no, I just said that if you're not running your campaign and you're just saying like, if you vote for me, I'll do it, but I'm not going out to try and get people to vote for me, then you're almost definitionally a bad candidate.
Right. And did I hear you say that functions better in a place where the voting base is also is diverse racially?
Yeah, I mean that seems pretty.
Portland doesn't. It's pretty famously not Portland.
Right. No, Portland's extremely white, but it performs better in that situation. But that doesn't mean that they don't outperform somebody similarly situated in this era, like as a white male. But all things being equal, if someone's not campaigning, all things are not equal, right? One person's not campaigning, and I mean it's just, if campaigns didn't mean anything, then I would say maybe, but there's no way. If she herself is saying, I'll do it if you elect me, but I'm not going to go out and actively campaign, that should be taken as a message that she's not going to win. I mean, if she thought she could win, she would campaign for it.
That's true.
Appreciate the call.
Maybe that would be a more no problem. Thanks, guys. Have a good day. Yeah.
I mean, that makes it sort of a slam dunk, right? Yeah. You don't even have to contemplate it. If someone's not going to run, they're not going to win.
And she might want to run for something else too. I mean, you have to keep in mind, like when people kind of do that dance of, I'd be happy to, but they're thinking long-term effects.
Are you ready for this?
Am I ready? Is this the Ben Shapiro moment?
This is the Ben Shapiro moment.
My daily Ben Shapiro.
Now, this poor guy, man, oh man. Like, this is, I mean, I've said this for, well over a decade. When they know they're losing, they go more and more to the culture wars.
Yeah.
That is why when Tucker Carlson is out there talking about essentially the demographic change that is going to make America dirty, it is the same thing as when Ben Shapiro is talking about, well, basically, I guess, black people saying things in music that he doesn't like. I mean, this is more Bill O'Reilly stuff. They go for the culture stuff.
That's right.
Because they don't have anything else to talk about. And Shapiro is like leaning heavily into this. And boy, oh boy, I guess we start with, what should we start with? Should we start with number 7?
Source material.
Yeah, start with number 7. Okay, here we go. So this is Ben Shapiro. He's reading the lyrics of, I'll let you know, WAP.
Here are some of the lyrics. You ready?
Oh my God.
Whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. Hold up. I said certified freak 7 days a week. Wet ass P-word. Make that pullout game weak. Yeah, you effing with some wet ass P-word. P-word is female genitalia. Bring a bucket and a mop for this wet ass P-word. Give me everything you got for this wet ass P-word. Beat it up, N-word. Catch a charge. Extra large and extra hard. Put this P-word right in your face. Swipe your nose like a credit card. Hop on top, I want to ride. I do a Kegel while it's inside. Spit in my mouth, look in my eyes. This P-word is wet, come take a dive. It continues along these lines. And it gets significantly more vulgar. Like a lot more vulgar. Talk your S-word, bite your lip. Ask for a call while you ride that D-word. You really ain't never gonna F him for a thing. He already made his mind up before he came. Now get your boots and your coat for this wet-ass P-word. Pay my tuition just to kiss me on this wet-ass P... Right, so this is... Guys, this is what feminists fought for. This is what the feminist movement was all about. It's not... it's not really about, women being treated as independent, full, rounded human beings. It's about wet-ass P-word. And if you say anything differently, it's because you're a misogynist, you see. It gets really, 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 really vulgar.
Oh my God! I can't. Is he a grown man?
Thank God he has a desk in front of him. I think it's turning him on.
No.
I'm somebody M Jamon Lewis, Monk Lewis said Ben Shapiro dusting off the old Steve Allen routine of reading song lyrics deadpan like Donna Summer's Hot Stuff. Hot stuff. You've got some hot stuff.
Wow.
So, here he is. He's fixating on Cardi B's song, which is just vulgar. And I don't know what it is that he thinks is going to happen now that someone's actually said these words in this order, right? Like, maybe, if she was president, you might be like, hey, you should probably not say that kind of stuff. You're president of the United States. But this is,
I think it's about the left. It's like feminists, the left. You could link it to Bernie. There's also, it's just they're trying to do whatever they can in sort of like a slow rollout, to link all this left insanity in their minds and vulgarity to Joe Biden. Right. The Communist Manifesto that Joe Biden put forward. Okay. These are the people that are going to be appearing on the convention stage in support of Joe Biden. Bernie Sanders supported by Cardi B. They're like, it's fast and loose.
But isn't this indicative of like they're afraid they can't even motivate their own voters at this point?
Of course.
Like if we've got to go like, listen, if you elect Joe Biden, I guess this is the argument, right? Like if you elect Joe Biden, Cardi B and her wet ass P word, speaking of female genitalia, are going to be all over rubbed in your face from the White House. And that is going to be horrible for you. Here is a remix by Dr. Grande. This is on Twitter, who edited and produces. This is, they produced this only hours after the show aired, and the clip was posted online. Here's a remix of Ben Shapiro talking about the wet ass P word. Why does he say ass? Why wouldn't you say the wet A word P word? Female genitalia and both male and female buttocks.
No, Sam, everyone knows you don't say the P word or the N word. You just don't say either of those.
Right. The P word and the N word. The idea that the P word is like the N word is really sort of stunning to me. Like, for a grown man. Like, we don't say the P word or the N word.
Well, because if he says the P word,
I don't understand why you could say the A word.
That's a good point, actually. He should retake it. I want to see him retake that.
I think it's because he's afraid of acknowledging the P word and what that would lead to, and his audience may see how excited he gets.
My wife does not allow me to have dinner with any other women alone because of the temptation, because they all have P words.
I think his wife doesn't allow him to have dinner with men.
Let's play the remix.
Whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. I said certified freak. 7 days a week. Wet ass P word. Make that pullout game weak. Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah, you effing with some wet ass P word. Bring a bucket and a mop for this wet ass P word. Give me everything you've got for this wet ass P word. Beat it up, N word, catch a charge. Extra large and extra hard. Put this P word right in your face. Swipe your nose like a credit card. Hop on top, I wanna ride. I do a kegel while it's inside. Spit in my mouth, look in my eyes. This P word is wet, come take a dive. They continue along these lines. And it gets significantly more vulgar. Like, a lot more vulgar.
Okay. You got to go seek that out, folks. You got to seek that out yourself, because you're going to want to play that tune all over and over again. But here is the best part about all of this. So here is Ben Shapiro, little Ben Shapiro, trying to make the argument that feminism is a waste of time, is failure, is bad, or whatever, because Cardi B wrote a song about her female genitalia, presumably being excited because of the sex that she's having. However, Ben Shapiro has done an investigation and apparently has found that
I've consulted an expert.
I consulted an expert. There is no such thing as female enjoyment of sex. In fact, as I also discussed on the show, he writes, my only real concern is that the women involved who apparently require a, quote, bucket and a mop get the medical care they require. My doctor wife's differential diagnosis, bacterial vaginosis, yeast infection, or trichomonas. I don't know what trichomonas or bacterial vaginosis is. But
is that real?
Yes,
that part real? That's real.
That's real.
That's a real tweet he'd put out. Yeah,
that's a real tweet.
What kind of surprise? Like what is going on with him? This is
we could actually try and act out what happened at dinner that night
with my doctor wife.
With my doctor wife. So you can play Ben Shapiro's wife, and I will play Ben Shapiro.
Okay.
And we're having dinner.
Okay.
Sweetheart, please allow the children to exit the room. I have something to discuss with you.
Okay, Ben.
Doctor, wife.
Yes, patient, husband.
I was listening to a vulgar song today, of course, only for work purposes, that mentioned...
Was it the Beatles again?
In 1080p.
There is no, it was not the Beatles. As I've said, I've sworn off that heathen music. There is a music person named Cardi B, and she has written a song that involves the fluids emanating from a female genitalia. Now, surely this must be some type of myth, because we've never encountered anything like this.
No, we have not at all.
Is this
I can
what
guarantee
happens
that.
when women get excited during copulation?
Well, women are not allowed to get excited during copulation. You should know that. That's what our master tells us.
Well, then how is it? What would cause this type of fluid to emanate from a P word?
It is clearly God punishing her for opening her mouth and having an opinion and being artistic. But I'm very concerned, Ben. Where did you find this music? How did it cross your path?
A producer brought it.
Oh, well, he must be fired. Oh, my God.
This is where you must tell me that it's actually a medical complication or problem for someone to have any type of liquid or wetness in their P word, because, of course, that's never happened with us.
It has never happened with us, and most likely it is God punishing her with this rare sickness, deformity.
Married someone from what was it, from
Victorian England.
Exactly. I was trying to think of some of those old Miramax movies that something like Parlor.
Shakespeare in Love.
Yeah, exactly. Or
well, then who talks like this?
The open window, whatever. I don't know I can't remember what
it's
that
the
was.
heat, guys. It's getting to me.
Yes. So there it is. Ben Shapiro. What really upset, I think is also sort of concerning is what happens when he goes home and he's like, sweetheart, I tweeted out your diagnosis that for a woman to have any type of fluids coming out of her P word, that she must be suffering from trichomonas or from a bacterial or yeast infection. And people responded that that's not the case, that this actually comes from sexual stimulation. I don't understand. Is that true? You can just
well, then
imagine
I've
his
lost my job as of today. So.
Oh, they're just playing with you, Ben. That's not true.
No, Ben, go back to your room.
What the heck is going on in that family?
Oh my God. I also just don't know what the agenda is. I understand the cultural wars, but he's speaking to another era. This is like 90s level. Like who's watching these videos and actually believes this? Like who is he swaying? Who is he moving?
The only thing I can imagine is he is either like seeing an opening with Bill O'Reilly's demographic, like these people haven't all died off yet, or he's been completely D'Souzaized.
Right.
How would you say that? Dinesh D'Souzaized. Dinesh or D'Souzaized, I guess, and has decided like really the clicks are the clicks, and it really doesn't matter at this point.
Where it's coming from.
He seems pretty young in his trajectory to be going full D'Souza at this point. But I guess
I don't know. This is why I think there's like some sort of
this is my exit strategy, and I'm going to make it big in Hollywood
with a rap album.
Yeah, wow.
Oh man,
that is.
Well, he can't sell meat products, so.
Whores in this house? They're calling themselves whores? I mean, what work do I have to do over here?
Oh my God, really unbelievable. Let's see.
I hope Cardi B responds.
Oh my God, I hope she doesn't.
She just did a quote tweet like laugh emoji thing about
Did
it.
she? Oh my God.
Yeah.
You know what I would like to see her do is like say like I will you can interview me and have and be in person and maybe start to like
don't
just
give him the clicks.
even put her hand on his knee and see what the reaction is. Interview over.
You would develop a permanent stutter.
Exactly. Cardi B, touch my knee. That's you know what? Since we're talking about really bad comedy, this I saw and I really don't know how this showed up in my feed. I guess somebody else was commenting on it. I can't really remember. This guy Ryan Long, do you know who he is? The only thing I realized, like I googled that guy and he did the woke and racist say the same things. Do you remember that video? Where did we watch that video?
Maybe
I don't know. Maybe I saw it only alone. Here, I want you to watch this. This is a comedy sketch about how comedians are no longer allowed to be funny because all they're trying to do is deliver a political message. And what I think is brilliant about this is that very often I would do similar things with my work. So form follows function. They made a very unfunny comedy sketch that was pushing a political message to prove and make the point that comedians can no longer be funny. They can only push a political message. Let's play just a little bit of this.
So meta.
It's 2020. The time for laughter is over.
See, a lot of people think that being a comedian is about getting laughs, writing jokes, or creating content.
But being a real comedian is about preventing others from getting laughs.
Writing naughty lists.
And having content removed from platforms of all kinds.
We at Comedians Against Comedy represent a growing number of comedians who strive to remove all comedy that isn't in direct alignment with Dove Soap's publicity team.
Call us crazy, but we subscribe to the idea that being a comedian is about challenging the idea that comedians should be challenging ideas.
It's about making a category of comedy that we deem unacceptable and then lumping all of our peers into that category.
This is a window of acceptable thought. The comedy we allow takes place here.
Real comedy is about supporting political agendas.
Propaganda, if you will.
Yeah.
I'm just writing a list of 20 fellow comedians I want to have excommunicated.
Preventing comedy from happening is no laughing matter. That's why I study the greats. Carlin, Chappelle, Burrs, material for problematic topics I can cancel them for.
Sometimes you just have to put pen to pad, writing angry letters to comedy clubs about which comedians shouldn't perform there.
Okay, I mean, it doesn't get any less funnier or any more funny or any less funnier or any more or less pedantic there.
I can't figure out their politics, though. Like, who are they? Ben Shapiro people, or are they like Pete Buttigieg people?
No, they're ostensibly comedians who are complaining and trying to make comedy that appeals only to conservatives because none of it's funny.
But that's why this is so brilliant, I think.
That is what I think is also like.
Well, I couldn't understand why you guys wanted to include this actually, because I watched them like this is not that funny actually.
It is so.
And I'm even like, yeah.
I do think there is a third, like I say, there's a third level in which you can watch this and say this is hilarious.
Yes.
They wanted to make the argument that comedians can't be funny because they're too busy enforcing a political edict and doing propaganda. And so they did a propaganda video that was not funny. That's
Joke's
funny.
on you.
Boom. This is like a double, like a triple Lindy or something.
The best comedians are the smart comedians. See if you can figure out my joke, guys.
Exactly. Look at it. We've got a diagram over here. I thought it was very funny. Calling from a 719 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hi, everybody. This is Justin from Colorado Springs.
Justin from Colorado Springs. What's on your mind?
I just wanted to bring up something real quick about the benefits that are the apparent benefits that Trump is claiming he's going to expend. Brad Heath from Reuters was saying that the $300 in federal aid won't come unless the states first commit the $100.
I'm not surprised by that. I mean, that was the one thing that was unclear to me. When we talk about Medicaid expansion, I think states are responsible for something like maybe 10%, maybe 7%, something, nothing dramatic, maybe even less than that. And then maybe that's the third year out. I'm not sure. But I'm not surprised that they made a contingent upon on the states. And my guess is that there will be very, 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 very few states that will pony up that $100 because they can't, because the states are hurting. They're getting destroyed. Remember, it's like they're it's not only from an income tax standpoint, a lot of their money they get through sales tax, and they're not collecting those sales taxes. Right. And so, like I say, he may have taken pressure off the Republicans for a couple of days, but people are going to start to realize, like, we're not getting the money. In Kentucky, there was a piece, I don't know, in the Washington Post today or what. There are people who are really mad at Mitch McConnell. Mm-hmm. And, I don't think Amy McGrath is situated to capitalize on this. It's so depressing because Charles Booker could have capitalized on what's going on now in terms of workers who have been laid off, workers who are folks who are getting evicted. I mean, this is right. This would have been right in the wheelhouse of his campaign. Amy McGrath just does not have the ability to do this. She's appealing to the Trump Republicans in the suburbs, supposedly. But there's a lot of intense anger at Mitch McConnell in Kentucky because he's the head of the Senate. He is the one person who is either incapable, which I believe is the case, of putting together any votes in the Senate to provide relief, or he's the guy standing in front of it. I mean, either way you want to look at it. And I think this is going to grow in intensity because we're just now at the beginning of this. This is the thing that I think the people fully appreciate is that we're only 1 week out from the eviction moratorium ending. It got extended in a couple of states, depends on where you are. We're only 1 week out from the diminished unemployment insurance payments. I mean, so we'll see.
Well, and if I could just kind of quickly relay my own experience. I lost my job on the 17th of March, and I'm pretty sure that happened because I've got serious health issues. So COVID is really a huge danger for me, and I'm pretty sure my employer fired me because I asked for accommodations. But beyond that, it in Colorado, which I don't think is as bad as some states, it took me about 7 days to push through the system to actually get the claim through. And I didn't get my first payout on benefits until the middle of May. And I'm pretty sure that only happened because I blew up my congressperson's email until they finally intervened. So it literally took an intervention from my congressperson to to get my unemployment benefit.
Wow.
And I've already run into the problem because I was a gig worker for most of the year last year. I only had $800 to draw from the state, which I already exhausted with the last paycheck in not last week, but the week before. And so now, I'm looking at a situation where I'm trying to find a job that's going to be the least, contact, that's going to
I
be
understand.
safe enough for me to work. And I've got normal benefits. Congress is putzing around doing, whatever garbage, because like you said, they gave away their leverage on the first bill. And I'm just like, I don't know what to do.
I don't know what to. My heart goes out to you. I honestly, I don't have any. I don't have any advice. I don't know what to. This is, I guess I would. The only thing I could tell you is I don't have any material advice for you. I don't. I wish I do, and it kills me. But I think, call into your local radio station.
Yeah.
Tell this story. Yeah. Tell your story. I don't know what value it would have, but maybe it will. I would continue to write your congressperson, but I would, if there's enough pressure from people who are in your situation or people who are sympathetic to people in your situation, maybe we'll see something happen. Maybe Colorado will, maybe the governor will say, we're going to at least do the $100 per week.
Are you
letters to the editor?
If you're facing, are you facing any tenant situation with your landlord? Because there is a really strong, on last week's show, we interviewed a lawyer who's part of a tenants assistance program they started called COVID-19 Tenants Assistance, I think. It's on my show. You can find it on YouTube if you want to look them up, and I'll tweet it out. But if you are in Colorado facing
I live in a situation because in most cases people can't afford to live on their own in Colorado. Rates on even studio apartments is $1,000 plus a month when the minimum wage is 12 and the average is 14. So cost of living has already kind of forced me into a situation where I'm living with multiple people in a house renting out. And I've been on top of making sure that all the little money that I have been getting has been getting out and covering rent, so I don't have to worry about that. Okay. But, I'm also at the point where I'm relying on food banks for food. Thank God I'm on Medicaid because I'm a type 2 diabetic. But,
well, let me ask you. All right, I just got an IM that this also is probably worth at least attempting. Find a labor lawyer in your local area who may be taking on cases if you can show that you were fired because, if you have emails or anything written or any type of evidence that you were looking for some type of accommodation because you're type 2 diabetic, a labor lawyer might be able to help you in this situation. And maybe there's some type of action where you can get some type of, I don't know, settlement from your former employer, or maybe they can help with benefits. I don't know, but it's worth putting in a call.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I will certainly try that. And I just wanted to leave. I also forwarded you guys over Twitter. There was some violence in Fort Collins over the weekend. I guess there was a Blue Lives Matter type protest, and there's it's like a 3-minute video because I guess somebody stood by and recorded. There was a counter protest, ostensibly, from Antifa. Obviously, no one's really been confirmed who it was, but they basically pushed back these kids because they look much younger into a secluded corner in the neighborhood and jumped on them and started beating them. So, that's the tone and tenor of some of the things going on in Colorado, but I don't know if that's something you guys would want to look at.
Well, I will check it out. I appreciate the call.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks.
Man.
We got a copyright strike already from the, was that from the,
it was before we even played the remix version. I feel like we got it from Shapiro's show, which would be very irritating to me.
we got a Well,
They're at war.
I'm sorry. It's news.
Yeah, we're doing the news, guys.
We will contest
First
that.
Amendment. That's fair use.
Contest that right now.
Yeah, Ben Shapiro, First Amendment much. Yeah, come on.
Exactly. We need to be able to free speech. Call from an 818 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Sam. Dave from Jamaica.
Dave from
Brendan,
Jamaica.
Matt, and Nomi.
Hello.
I was going to. I saw you on. Hi. I saw you on MSNBC or MSDNC or whatever you call it.
Right,
But
right.
I was going to ask you. My favorite part of it though is the kind of awkward transition to Rachel. Can you give me some inside baseball about that?
You know, to be honest with you, like, you know, you're not the first person who has said that to me. And I think part of it was like, I had not contemplated that at all. So I was completely surprised by how that was going to go down. And they had said to me that they put up on the prompter, when they put it up on the prompter, then you have like 20 seconds or something like that. And so I just assumed like I had gone over and I erased it. And it was the one thing. The show was messed up because of the press conference. It was messed up because we were supposed to have Bernie and he couldn't do it from technical standpoint. And Corey Bush apparently was supposed to come on earlier in the show, but there was, you didn't know this.
No,
there
I
was a
didn't.
big technical snafu. And so like I got an audible in the ear to do it. And it's, you know, like it's a different, you know, I'm not used to doing that. I haven't read from a teleprompter
It was very
in
seamless.
10 years.
You were very seamless. I'm like,
fine.
you did very well.
But the one thing I hadn't contemplated was the handover. And so when she showed up and started talking to me, I was surprised because I just thought like I had forgotten that they do that. And I was just like, oh, right. And I hadn't really contemplated it. So yeah, it was a little bit.
She helped you out, I think.
Well, here's the thing.
It was very funny.
Go ahead.
No, what was the press conference? Sorry, just a quick question.
Trump's press conference.
Oh, okay. I didn't see it in real time because
he gave the press conference at like he was supposed to start at 7. He ends up starting at 7:30. I'm doing the 8 o'clock show, and we're trying to figure out like is he saying anything that and it really sort of busted open everything that we were going to do in many respects. So I hadn't seen the scripts. Like I hadn't like everything got jumbled. It was, and I was just like sitting in the studio thinking like, I just hope I haven't gotten COVID. So
No, but Sam, to be honest, you did fine. What I was more amused by is like Rachel's reaction, like she saw the ghost of Christmas Future.
Oh, I doubt that, but I appreciate the call, Dave.
That's what I was laughing at.
Oh, thanks. She was being okay. I didn't pick that up. I appreciate it.
You did fine. She was like, oh.
She may not have known that I was doing it. She may not have known, and it may have been a surprise to her.
It was good, though.
Appreciate the call, Dave.
It was very good.
Yeah, you made a very, small contingency of viewers who have been watching you since Air America, who watch MSNBC all the time, just like absolutely levitate in that moment, I'm sure.
Yes, there was a lot of like, there was the we've been waiting years for this.
We've been writing letters every day.
Noah from Tampa. 2 days ago, the Tampa police arrested 7 protesters. Organizers have yet to release them. One protester could be heard being beaten in the jail.
Whoa.
Please help.
Whoa.
Please donate to Tampa Dream Defenders for their legal defense and bail. We'll look into that.
What?
Rick Huron. We're starving out here. Expanded unemployment or riots. Tomcat. Hi, guys. Since Jamie's confirmed that Virgil Texas isn't actually missing dead, I'd like to know why he disappeared for as long as he did, whether he's officially quit Chapo or that he thinks about Chapo's bootlicker episode with Amber and Matt Taibbi going all Blue Lives Matter a few weeks ago. Did you listen to that one? I did not listen to that one. I don't know if we're in a position to talk about it, but we'll get Virgil on some Friday. We were going to, or something got canceled. I don't know what happened. The only thing that comes close to Shapiro's review of the Cardi B song is when Jackman did a bandwagon jumping piece that said, "We need a WAP woke ass proletariat" right after the song came out. But it's It's time to be honest. Modern news and op-ed media is beyond redemption and should be shot into the nearest sun pronto. P word. I think leftists can evaluate Biden's VP pick using a pretty simple metric. Either she does or doesn't have a WAP. Simple as that. Oh, boy.
Oh, good.
Podfish.
Okay.
Podfish, can I get a shofar? Simple Socialist. Hey, Sam, how likely is a post-worker strike? I think they should strike and demand union ownership or management, but I'm just a simple socialist. I haven't heard anything about that. I mean, I spoke to Mark Dimmenstein yesterday. I don't get the sense that they're, in a position to strike right now. I mean, between the coronavirus and the timeline, I just don't know. I think the idea is that what they need to do is just hold things together and hope and see what happens in November.
And there's a lot of, regardless, we have primaries that are still happening, like whether it's Massachusetts or today in Georgia and a couple of other states. That's a essential service, essentially. And it's like the fire department, right? I think right now, in the case of an election, it would be very dangerous. Yeah. And it would give the opportunity for the Postmaster General, privatizer in chief, to say, okay, this is why we need to lean on.
That is the big thing, dangerous. Is that I think it would just open up too many opportunities to right now, to the extent that people are aware of what's going on. The sympathies lie with the postal workers. Mm-hmm. I think
the most popular agency in the country.
And I think making this about an assault on the post office as an institution, as opposed to the workers, at this moment is probably the most effective play. I would have a different calculation after November.
And an assault on democracy.
After the first week in November.
I think those two things go hand in hand.
Yep. Automat Lek, watch your back, sunshine. The seed for Peck, Lek, and Finder production has been planted. Sleep with one eye open. By the way, are there any good books to learn about spies and intelligence agencies? Oh, yeah. What was that one? We had that guy on, right? I feel like everything feels like it was 6 months ago, but I feel like it was like 2 years ago.
What was the book about?
The Spy, not the Dulles brothers, although that one's pretty good. But who?
What was the book that
I'm not sure.
Ghislaine Maxwell was reading when they took that picture of her in LA?
Oh, that was like something. That was like a hokey, like spies live by their honor sorts of thing. Live by the word or something. I don't think it was actually that. It wasn't like Stephen Kinzer or anything like that. Okay. I mean, reading about the Dulles brothers, about spies specifically, I don't know if I have anything specifically about spies.
It's a book that you were excited about, Matt. I can't even remember what it was.
Did we have him on?
Yeah.
Her on? Oh.
I think it was a pre-tape. The Australian. A video called Ben Shapiro Should Just Stop Talking by the channel What Do You Mean? Get on it. I'm not sure I know what that means, but I'll get on it. Ryan from Ohio, please play the Shelley Landon for Congress ad on the show. It's a masterpiece. We'll pull that for tomorrow. Shelley Landon. Do you know what he's talking about?
Mm-mm. I'll look it up. For Congress.
Hey, I'm our crew. Have you ever interviewed Joel Kotkin? I heard an interesting interview recently. On another note, it's my son's 9th birthday, and he sports one of your masks. Shofar, s'il vous plaît. I can do that. Joel Kotkin. I think. No. Different guy. I have not. I'll look into him. A bear at me too. Bear at home too. Great seeing you on MSNBC over the weekend. Where can I find the full episode online so I can send it to my mom? Also, you're doing an impression of Chris Hayes. Your cadence seemed very familiar. I like the old Matt on Thursdays. Can you interview David Pakman on one of the shows? We're in a big war right now with David Pakman. I don't know if people know that. So no way.
I'm aware.
No way.
Well, what if he gives you views by being on? Gotta jujitsu this stuff. Yeah, jujitsu.
Well, the way Pakman works, he just come on to steal subscribers. I know the way that he's up to. Can we get into this right now? This is like I've been trying to hold off on this, but There's something fishy going on. We're going to do a deep dive into this at one point with David Pakman's subscriber numbers, because, normally subscriber numbers go like this. All right. They normally go like this. That's the normal graph of subscriber numbers. Okay. It's also my notes to myself here. Wait a second. Let me do this one. Let me tell you what has happened with David Pakman's numbers. They have gone like this. Something very fishy is going on. That is not a normal subscriber graph.
Maybe it's Ben Shapiro's way to sabotage you. He's like getting in on there.
Well, I don't know what it is, but I will tell you this. I suggested very lightly, that maybe there were bots at play. And then all of a sudden I get a bunch of emails saying I'm not a bot, but they all were clearly sent from bots. Look at, let's play this. Yeah, look at that. Look at what's going on there. I'm sorry, folks. Like, what is that about? There's something going on. I think somebody should investigate this.
What was he covering?
Yeah, let's hope he's more open to a investigation than Cuomo.
Yeah, let's hope so. We need an independent investigator. Well, do we have a clip of when he, as far as I can tell, he got his subscribers because he attacked me. Let's play this clip here.
Listen, how do we even do this? Things are getting really ugly in the progressive media space. And it pains me to have to do this today. But Sam Cedar has casually made a disgusting claim about the David Pakman show and fired a shot across the bow about our recent surge of subscribers, claiming, absent any evidence, mind you, that somehow bots that I have presumably used or paid for are boosting our YouTube subscriber numbers. Let me give you a little background. Last week, by the way, this is all a joke, just because I know people will. This is all a joke. Okay. Last week,
stop
the David Pakman show hit 9.
Now, what is he doing there? He's trying to play it off like it's all a joke. That's crazy.
That's why he's suing him.
Huh? I mean, I'm not suing him, but I am going to look and see if there's any type of Dave Pakman's sitting there basically calling me a joke. Right? Didn't he just say it's all a joke?
I think he's worried that you might go off the deep end and sue him, really. Like, you never know. You could snap any minute and just send him a cease and desist, shut down the show.
Better be careful.
Here's my challenge to Dave Pakman, okay? He just accused me of being a joke, right? Like, the whole video is about me, and he just said, this is all a joke, referring to me. And so, as far as I'm concerned, that's... is that libel or defamation? It's defamation, right? When you say it, as opposed to libel is written. Is that right?
I think he's saying it's a joke. Careful language.
He said it's all a joke. And he's talking about me.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's libel if it's written and slander if it's spoken, I think.
Oh, it's slander. Okay. Yeah. All right. So, I don't know. I just think that I'm a little surprised by the whole thing, but.
Listen, all we want is an open inquiry into what the heck's going on here.
We just want to know what's going on. And I want to investigate the investigators.
All right, I'm friends with both of you. I will create a commission. And we will meet every week for the next, in perpetuity, until someone shuts us down.
There we go.
And we'll discover this. We'll look into it.
What is his subscriber count at now?
Data experts look into it.
What is his subscriber count at now?
932.
932?
Mm-hmm.
The guy's added like 30,000 subscribers in like a week.
We're down 17,000.
No, 15, I thought.
We were tied with him 2 weeks ago. Oh, this is bad. This is really bad. All right, let's since we're getting a little bit meta. Should we dig into this today, Matt, or should we save it?
It's up to you. Whatever you feel like.
Well, I got it back because Brett Weinstein, apparently this is 2 weeks ago now, I guess. What should we start? What should we start with? Should we start with him?
The tweet?
Let's start with the him saying, let's work backwards.
The drunk pilot.
He's calling you a drunk pilot.
Right.
All right, this is from the Brett Weinstein. What is it? The Dark Horse Show? What do they call that?
Yeah, this is the 33rd Dark Horse podcast live stream.
All right, yeah. So this is their dead horse show, Dark Horse.
Okay, final thing. With the death of Michael Brooks, I have held my fire with respect to the interaction with the producer of the Majority Report, Matt Lech. But there's something that needs to be said here. So many will remember that Matt Lech unleashed
Pause it for 1 second. First off, I really, it grosses me out when these guys, and both the brothers have done this, even just like bringing up Michael's name. Like I would say, keep his name out of your mouth.
Yeah,
all right?
I agree.
Because then the other thing is, I think this is very important, right? Because he's about to make some very, he's about to create some very specific standards for what people who work on podcasts should uphold. Matt, what is your last name?
Lech.
Lech. Matt Lech.
Yeah.
How many times do you think the words Matt Lech have been stated on this podcast or on TMBS?
Quite often, especially because there was Matt Binder. So the way to differentiate me was with the last name Lech. So people learned it.
I mean,
early.
thousands over the years, right? We've done thousands of episodes. It's between this and TMBS and you on your Twitch stream, there is, what I'm saying is there almost could not be more information on how your last name is pronounced. Lech. Let's go back to the tape because, again, this is Brett Weinstein putting down some criteria as to what people should expect from their podcast producers or presumably hosts. I would imagine it's even got a higher standard.
So many will remember that Matt Lech unleashed a falsehood about me, and therefore
Many will remember.
He said falsehoods, but I won't be pedantic.
About us, that I was somehow consulting for the Department of Homeland Security. And what he was referring to was discussion with an officer for the DHS, which I made no secret of. I talked about it right here on the live stream. So he took that and he portrayed it as my consulting for the Department of Homeland Security. And then I said that he needed to apologize, he needed to retract, and he needed to be fired. And I was challenged in a way that I actually probably should have seen coming, but I did not expect, which is, oh, I get it. You are in favor of cancel culture when it's about you. Now, this strikes me as insane. Why does Matt Lech need to be fired? He does not need to be canceled. I never wanted him canceled. He needs to be fired for cause. That's what used to happen in the adult world. When somebody, if your pilot shows up drunk, they need to be fired for cause. If your surgeon refuses to scrub up before surgery, they need to be fired for cause. That's not cancellation. This person does not belong.
Pause it for 1 second. Let me see if I understand this. Matt, let me ask you, were you drunk?
I was not, no.
Okay. And did you scrub up? I mean, were you clean? Were you in any way, was there bacteria all over you?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, all right. I'm starting to do my due diligence here. Can return.
Okay. We want to keep going with this clip?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
And if he just made an error, if this is once in a lifetime, then he needs to own up to that error exactly. And nothing he has delivered so far is anything other than grudging. So I think he needs to be fired for cause. And I think Sam Cedar needs to understand that his ability to continue in whatever he's doing, if it's journalism, requires that he own up to the fact that what Matt Lech did is justification for firing, and that is actually the required action unless something utterly extraordinary happens. So I don't want to hear any more of this garbage about I'm for cancel culture. This has nothing to do with cancel culture. This has to do with the fact that the world functions when people do jobs properly, and some jobs do not accept failures like this. A drunk pilot needs to be fired for cause. A journalist who lies about nature of an interaction of citizens with federal officers needs to be fired for cause. Why? Because it put us in danger. There are nightly attacks on federal officers in Portland, violent attacks. By describing
I thought he wasn't
us
one.
as collaborating with the Department of Homeland Security, that was clearly painting a target.
Whoa. Pause it. Pause it. Now, wait a second. First off, I can barely get through this whole thing where a podcast host, a professional podcast host, I mean, this is what his job is, keeps referring to as Lech, Matt Lech. All you like the slightest bit of investigation would find that your name is Lech. And then he does what he accuses you of doing. Did you use the word collaboration? Did you say collaboration? In fact, not only did you not say the word collaboration, if he is so worried about protecting himself in this environment, then why is he talking about that he was getting a phone call from the DHS and talking to these guys? In fact, if anybody said collaboration, what he was describing was collaboration, and you simply maybe mischaracterize it as a consultation.
Yeah, I just want to say, here's my original tweet, and I did say this consultation work. Hey, Brett Weinstein, want to come on to Majority FM to discuss this consultation work you're doing with the Department of Homeland Security of Portland. And I want to say,
let's play the original
I have
video
the clip.
that he said.
Yeah.
Yes, because I mean, you're not I'm
characterizing
like, look, I've had Nomi, you've called me. You're not paying me to give you advice on something, or people call me. It's consultation. Let's look up what the word consultation means.
Yeah, I was characterizing what I shared in the tweet that I deleted on his threat, but I was characterizing this clip right here.
Dynamic, and unfortunately, now what we are seeing is the potential of this mindset to disrupt leadership at a moment when everything seems to be at stake. And as I'm sure we will end up talking about, I had a contact this week, somebody who has been following us for quite some time contacted me. He's actually a Department of Homeland Security officer in Portland. And he contacted me, I think it's fair to say, in something of a panic based on what he is seeing unfold night after night for the last, 8 nights in Portland, a standoff between the protests and the police. And he frankly is worried about what might emerge from this. And among the possibilities are, a civil war based, in race, and it wouldn't be the first one of those, obviously. And so I really think we have to figure out how to escape the momentum of this moment.
Okay, so now let me be clear here. Well, what's going on? This guy calls him worried. Well, what do you do when someone calls you worried? You give them advice. You maybe discuss things with them. Well, let's look at the dictionary definition of consultation. It is the action or process of formally consulting or discussing. Discussing. Well, surely they must have discussed it. He just said he did. Yet he then twists that in to say that you collaborated.
Yeah.
That you said that they collaborated, which is a very different thing. I mean, frankly, by the own standards that Brett Weinstein has laid out for whatever he's doing there with the horse skull or whatever skull is on that table. I don't think it's like some type of a brush hog or something, a wild pig or boar or something like that. Whatever he's doing there with that wild boar, he should basically resign because he has failed his own standards.
I mean, I'm not into cancel culture, but I'll also point out that the episode, and we don't have time to get into this, but the episode where they originally, that aired after they called for my firing, Heather Hyring accused me, or that's, I think, his co-host, accused me of calling it a race war when I was mocking the whole idea of race war. So she didn't even know what I was taking issue with, which is what the problem is, right? Brett wanted to focus on this little pedantic thing, which is how I characterize this, which admittedly, if you didn't watch the video, maybe it looked like I was implying some sort of official relationship. So I deleted it and apologized, right? But Like,
I think you went well beyond the. In fact, to the extent that there's any type of review we're going to do internally here in human resources, it may cut against you because you deleted the tweet. Because, frankly, I think you may have been doing a disservice.
I wanted to focus on how he thought that the anarchists who have taken over Black Lives Matter want to get massacred. And he says it's a ludicrous idea, but then he explains why they are incentivized to do it. That's what I actually really wanted to talk about. And the thing is all these guys, they always point to something pedantic, excluded and insulated from the core critiques that they can take issue with, so we never have to address those things. Like, I think, because he was saying that stuff, he talks later in the episode about how the weak executive in Portland isn't letting the law enforcement take care of the rioters. And then later you have, like a few weeks later, you have them pulling them into vans, right? I think that's something that I think as like a public speaker, he needs to be accountable for that. So I think we could have just had the discussion. He could have came on to Majority Report and said, actually, it wasn't paid. And then we could have continued discussion. And I would have.
But you never said paid. The word consultation, I'm sorry, is not.
I said this consultation work. I could have said. I think if the consultation work would have been it really implying it. I said this consultation work because I was being a bit haughty about what I had in the clip, which is that a panicked DHS guy comes up and starts talking to him about race war.
Well, I'm sorry. He is doing it in the capacity of the host. He said it himself. I mean, this is. Like people say, I'm working on myself. That doesn't mean that you're being paid to work on yourself. I say, this is my project. I mean, we all know what the English language is. Now he could say, he could have said, you better clarify that this is not paid work I'm doing.
I did that immediately.
Well, there you go. And it's not as if you didn't have the source material right in the tweet.
Exactly.
Where is the source material for him to claim that you said that they were collaborating?
Where's
the source material that your last name is Lech?
He said I was spreading multiple falsehoods and wouldn't even say which falsehoods they were. And now he's saying, and now he said falsehood. That's an interesting little shift.
And I will also say this. I would invite him onto this program, like you have suggested, Matt. However, in the first tweet that he tweeted out, he asked for you to be fired. He sent it to TYT and to myself. Yeah. And the fact is, you do not work for TYT. You have, as far as I am aware, never worked for TYT.
No.
If you have ever gotten paid a dime by TYT, I am not aware of it. And he made, and then he drew this because he saw that I had some association with TYT.
Ooh, I don't like that kind of thinking.
I demand an apology on that. And I asked him for it on Twitter. He's had some excuse that he saw it on Wikipedia that I had an association with TYT, and then radio silence. I will not have him on this show until I get an apology from him. And then I want an apology from his brother. In fact, I need an apology from the entire Weinstein family before he comes on the show. And that's it. End of story. Unless you have anything else to say. First off, like the Lech, which he said multiple times.
They laughed about it in the first episode too, which hurt my feelings a little bit, but
that was just horrible. Also, the things he said about collaboration, the things he said about TYT. I mean, we're talking, you had one supposed falsehood. He's had three. And by his own measure, he should have been fired from his own show a long time ago. Talk about a drunk pilot. This guy's a drunk pilot going in to perform surgery.
Without his scrubs on.
It's unbelievable. I can't believe society has really gone downhill. We have so many problems here that are happening because, which I think this is indicative of. People can just get a microphone and do all sorts of really horrible things. And I wasn't going to talk about this, but I had to. So
they remind me of, like, remember when Al when on Saturday Night Live they used to do that, like the NPR
Yes.
slow talking.
Yes.
That's what they remind me of. It's the parody of it.
Yes, it is. It does sort of feel like that. But that way they can say stuff that's outrageous.
Yes.
And nobody thinks it does. Right. They're not hysterical when they make their when they say we're on the brink of a race war because of what's happening in Portland.
I
It's
can't wait
happened
to hear
before
them
in this country, remember.
do the Cardi B lyrics.
Oh, yeah, the Civil War was more than just a race war. I mean, hence why like white people fought on behalf of the winning side of it. I think it was like, and he
teach? What did he teach when he was a professor?
Evolutionary biology, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
I don't know if it's
AKA
eugenics.
eugenics, literally.
I mean, I'll just say like he's lightly published. He's published a couple to a few things, and I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah.
Well, I demand an apology, and that's that. And then when he apologizes, he can come on the show and we can discuss this like adults. But apparently, he's not an adult. I don't say Brett Weinstein. It's obvious.
It's Breh, silent T.
Breh.
Actually, I think it might be Weinstein.
Oh, all right. Of course.
I think they go by Weinstein.
I will.
See, we correct ourselves.
That's right. We correct in real time.
Yes.
There you go.
Look at you, even know how to say my name now.
That's it comes and goes. It comes and goes. All right. Let's take one more phone call, and then we'll take a couple IMs, and then we'll get out of here. My kids are clamoring for my presence. Calling from a 928 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Chichima from America's Heartland, Yuma, Arizona.
Chichima from Yuma, Arizona. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, and I'm calling because I went from Okaloosa County, Florida, March 28th, back out here to Yuma, Arizona to be with my parents. And I've been out of work since January 27th, and I didn't get unemployment from Florida until June 13th.
Well, we had a clip from DeSantis where he copped to the fact that Rick Scott had created all sorts of obstacles to people collecting unemployment insurance from Florida.
Oh, yeah, the governor went on the radio, I believe, like 2 days ago and was asked about it. And he said, well, to me, the website looks like somebody built it to put as many obstacles in place so that someone would just say, forget it.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, I don't mean to step all over you, Sam.
No, go ahead.
One of the things that I'm dealing with is I'm missing back pay from April 5th to June 6th. And I called about 15 days ago because, remember, I'm in Yuma, Arizona, and I'm having to deal with all the unemployment stuff in Florida. So it's a bitch to get through the line. And I finally was able to get through about 3 weeks ago. The lady was super helpful. She said she backdated my thing. I called like a week ago just to confirm because I still haven't gotten it. And the guy's like, yeah, I see the note in here. It might take about 20 days, 40 days, maybe. I was like, okay, and so today I called, and the woman said there was no notes on my record at all. So she had to submit a third backdate request. And I just want people to know that here in Yuma, we're dealing with a microcosm of, I think it was you who said that they're drinking their own Kool-Aid. They're getting high on their own supply now. Yuma is right in the middle of a Marine Corps air station, an Army base, a prison, a jail, and a Border Patrol checkpoint. So it's highly, highly conservative here. Mm-hmm. My dad's friends are QAnon believers. You can find Trump flags flying everywhere. I mean, and if you look at the numbers in Yuma, Arizona, for such a small county, we're killing it for the amount of deaths.
Yeah.
Well, hang in there, man.
As much as I hate to say it, Sam, I'm really worried about this election. And for everybody listening, if you want to do me and the guy that called earlier a favor, contact your representatives on our behalf and don't just preach to the choir. Don't just hit up, the progressives, the Democrats. please annoy the other people. Send faxes, call them, email them, send letters, harass these people because we're getting screwed.
Yeah, your Republican senators and your local officials. When you contact your local officials, they're gonna complain up the line, and that's where they're gonna get pressure. So, appreciate the call. Good idea. People can help. Every little bit. There's no guarantees, but
and buy stamps. Buy stamps, please, guys. Save the USPS. Buy stamps.
Good idea.
Especially
too.
for communities like
Appreciate
Yuma.
that.
Yeah.
Thanks for the call.
Love you guys.
All right, bye-bye. All right, that's it for calls today, folks. Let's do some IMs. Huge ass. Thank you. Hey, MR crew, love the show. My suggestion for Michael's best of the time Michael did Tony Blair 9/11 Truther. Left his best. Chicken hock filet. Yesterday's show and school options. Mexico has created a TV channel dedicated to school instruction to circumvent the lack of devices internet. Seems like it would be a slam dunk for U.S. lawmakers if they could even make an appearance and indoctrinate students at an early age. I won't hold my breath. That's actually a good idea. I don't know what the mechanism for that would be, but
state. They used to have public access TV. I mean,
yeah, you would think PBS would be doing something like that. Maybe, I don't know. Kentucky Fried Comrade, AMR crew, saw some people claiming BLM and the defund the police movement are Russian propaganda. Gave me an idea for a bit concept. Woke Putin. Do with this with what you will. I got to practice my Russian accent, I guess. Pragmatic progressive. I think it would be interesting for you to do an exhaustive review of Biden's proposed policies versus Trump's, or even just Biden's for all the main issues. Tax policy, healthcare, environmental policy. It would be just good for people to understand what the actual policies are and just focusing on Biden as a character.
Oh, man.
Couldn't agree more. In fact, that is the plan. That's something I probably wouldn't do until September anyways, because that's when people really start to focus in. But yes, I think it's super important for the perspective of just the general election, but also for progressives to know what's the baseline that we're starting at. Much of it's going to be insufficient. All of it will be at a minimum necessary, but much of it will be insufficient. But
I think also just like reminding people how bad Trump is. Like, let's do a tight summary of what has happened in the last 4 years. What has he, taken apart? What is on the line?
Tax cuts. Well, and I forgot to mention this, and I will get to it. But in a couple of days, we're going to lose the methane, the requirements for oil and gas companies to install technology to detect and fix methane leaks in fracking in particular, but also wells, pipelines, storage sites. Methane is huge. It's a huge contributor to greenhouse gases. But there's also like the EPA released rules on release of toxic chemicals from coal-fired power plants. They tried to shrink the CAFE standards. They weakened the National Environmental Policy Act so that you don't have public review of federal infrastructure projects to see their environmental impact. I mean, on and on and on. But yes, I agree. 4 more of these. Barbara Lee for VP. Thank you, MR crew, for everything you do. I hope you're doing well. One thing to consider with the excess death numbers, there's a likelihood we've also seen a spike in suicide and other deaths of despair, without a doubt.
Domestic violence.
Certainly summer COVID, but suicide will certainly rise as economic conditions deteriorate. Miss you, Michael. Yes. But at the flip side, in terms of like this excess death thing, is that we have less car accidents because people weren't driving as much. So, I mean, that may be a wash in terms of those figures. Whatever that is, there's clearly more than 160,000 deaths from COVID. Maybe it's 10,000 more, maybe it's 5,000, maybe it's 20,000, maybe it's 30,000. We don't know. But this is only in a matter of months.
There's also stress. I mean, there's just a lot of other factors.
Shapiro's dry wife. So I will be making an 11-hour drive to New Mexico for family business on Thursday. Although the state seems to be doing relatively good as far as positive test rates, we will have to suffer through Arizona. Wish us luck. We'll be listening to MR Thursday crew in the car. Love you guys.
My coffee cup today is New Mexico. So
there you go.
There you go.
Kowalski from Nebraska. Hey, Sam, everybody else, good news. My COVID test came back negative. Great, but it took 12 days to get the results, so it was basically a waste. Lost your call on the river, but I plan to call it back now that I'm, sorry about that. You wanted to challenge me? We'll do that tomorrow. Bob in Madison, Lincoln Project, used a David Cross bit in his new ad. I saw that. Yeah, we got to play that. Bunker Inspector, hey, I was thinking about something Jamie said yesterday when she said she and her DSA comrades were unconvinced about the possibilities of electoral politics, but surely the DSA owes the majority of its members to the failed Bernie 16 presidential run.
Yep.
Decent point. The Chris Lepaco, today is the last day for vote for Ilhan Omar in a Minnesota Democratic primary. His opponent is only supported by millionaires. His average donation is something like $600. Get out and vote and be safe. Also, can I get a boost? You got it. What does that mean?
Like a Twitter boost?
Do they have a link or something?
No. And the final IM of the day. Needed to hear, quote, don't piss down my back and tell me it's raining during the McConnell clip. Indeed. I don't have it on my machine. All right, folks. Nomi, as always, a pleasure. Check out Nomi's show, folks. Matt, Brendan, thank you. See you guys tomorrow.
It might take all the strength I got to get to where I want, but I know somehow I'm gonna get there. I wasn't looking when I just got caught between the truth and